Wow, great large crowd in the audience. We're going to start off, we are back from exec session. It is 6:01. We're going to start off with recognitions. Jamar, if you could start us off, please.
Booker T. Washington STEM Academy social worker Heidi Grove has been recognized by the Illinois Association of School Social Workers as the Social Worker of the Year. Congratulations, Heidi, on this accomplishment. And I believe she is here. She can stand.
Champaign Schools has received 4 awards in 2014 Illinois chapter of the National School Public Relations Association Communications Contest. The district is being honored for the following project: Student Scholar Brochures, Stephanie Stewart, the District Go Video Facilities, Stephanie Stewart, and Shattered Glass Studios, the district website redesign, Stephanie Stewart and Brian Trout, and the Welcome to Kindergarten informational book, Stephanie Stewart and Doug Jarvis.
Assistant Superintendent and 2014 Educator of the Year, Dr. Laura Taylor, was recently featured on the Gay, Lesbian, and Straight Education Network, Gilson's blog. The post is titled, Unit 4 Encourages Educators to Transform School Communities and Embrace Change, and is linked from the Champaign Schools Facebook page.
The newly renovated Bottenfield and Robeson Elementary Schools recently welcomed back students and staff for the 2014-15 school year. Bottenfield, which opened in 1955, underwent a $6.3 million expansion and renovation during the 13-14 school year. During construction, Bottenfield faculty and students were housed at the former Carrie Busey Elementary School on Kirby Avenue in Champaign. Features of the renovated school include a secured front entrance and new security system, separate gym, cafeteria, updated technology, improved ADA accessibility, and updated classrooms. Robeson, which opened in 1967, underwent a $2.1 million renovation that took place in 2 phases during the summer months of 2013 and 2014. The renovated Robeson includes a secured front entrance and administrative spaces, renovated classroom spaces, and a renovated library.
Central and Centennial High Schools will now host a weekly community tour every Tuesday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., leading up to the November 4th election. Community members are welcome to visit the school, speak with school administrators and students, and observe how students and teachers are utilizing the current facilities.
Unit 4 alumni of all ages helped to kick off the 2014-2015 school year with the Champaign Schools alumni video. Over the summer, graduates told us about their favorite school memories and who the faculty and staff members were who truly made an impact on their lives. The result, a video that gives you a glimpse into the impact our community schools and staff have on the lives of students. The video is available for public viewing on the Champaign Schools Vimeo page.
And I do believe next on the agenda is the viewing of that video. Dave?
Well, I started out as a rocket, Robeson Elementary.
Dr. Howard, Franklin Middle School.
The marvelous Kenwood Elementary School.
I was at Southside with the same teacher, Mrs. Toll, that my mother had at Dr. Howard for kindergarten back in the day.
I was at Edison Middle School, one of the very first to go into the middle school model.
Kenwood, Jefferson, and Centennial.
I went to Southside Elementary.
I went to Westview for kindergarten, first grade.
Westview for elementary. I went there the year it opened in 1951. I was in first grade.
1955.
I graduated in 1963.
I was the first graduating class of Centennial in 1968.
1970.
1974. 1979. Woo! Class of 79.
1982.
1994. Graduated from Centennial High School in 1995.
2007.
2008.
I graduated this year, 2014.
One of my favorite school memories would definitely be winning the state championship in 2009.
And most of my friends and some family members decided we'd go to Centennial and be the first Chargers.
I finally made it to football. Even though I didn't start, I got a letter. And we went to the school playoffs for the first time in school history, and that's the fondest memory.
The year we made it all the way to sectionals in soccer as a freshman, so it's, a big deal to play in that game as a freshman.
I was a member of the women's singing choir, vocalettes, and of course the regular choir. The vocalettes went to the Kiwanis International Conference in Atlantic City on the train from Tolono. We had a great time.
We took turns saying the Pledge of Allegiance at the beginning of the day. Well, I must have been so good that I ended up doing it the rest of the year.
My sports coaches were the biggest influences in my life, both Mrs. Hale and Mr. Bergman. They both really taught me how to multitask and how to work with other people.
Mrs. Krim was a stickler for discipline, and if you missed more than a certain number of words in spelling, that was back in the day where you could get spanked. And so that taught me to be a really good speller.
The PE teacher was Bobby Hunt. We would go over to the Douglas Center every day. We learned how to square dance. We did the parachute game, played Steal the Bacon, had all sorts of fun games with him.
Hester Suggs at Booker T. Washington, who was the principal there. I remember she really worked with me about keeping my hands to myself, to the point where she held me accountable on more than one occasion.
Miss Adrian from Jefferson Middle School, she was my social studies teacher, and she not only taught me history, but also qualities of integrity, leadership.
Coach Heisenstaub was a rock for me in every situation in my high school career. He was a dad to me whenever I needed him to be there.
Tommy Stewart.
First and foremost, Tommy Stewart. Pretty special guy.
Musicals with Miss Aldridge.
Sue Aldridge.
Got to know Sue Aldridge, Mrs. Aldridge, really well. She was a big influence in my life.
My first grade ESL teacher who helped me transition into America, I guess.
Keith Page, who was my drama teacher.
Keith Page.
Keith Page.
I never knew that I was interested in doing anything on the stage until I met Keith Page in junior high.
He was just magical, and he did magic, and sometimes he would do magic in the classroom.
They all believed in me and saw something in me that I didn't see. They recognized my leadership abilities at a young age. In fact, it was Miss Dorothy Green in 5th grade who told me, you're gonna be a teacher one day.
I had a physics teacher by the name of Nellie Bates who was very good and expected the most out of you, and I thought did a lot towards preparation for college.
I was sports editor of the newspaper. Mrs. Kovar was the Champaign Chronicle advisor. She had this very tyrannical, adherence to rules and having us to really learn to be little newspaper men and women. And at the same time, she was like, a mom or a grandma to all of us because we all adored her as well.
I received my education. I learned the fundamentals, but I was also challenged and pushed to explore.
Miss Reed, my English teacher in high school, I swear she went through every red ink pen she had to grade my papers, but she forced me to be a better writer.
We had a dedicated staff, and I felt like I got a good, solid education from Unit 4.
I felt like the teachers that I had were just really great at creating relationships with their students, made a great, safe environment for people to take risk in their learning and to feel like they can thrive. And so that's what I want to bring to the table as well as a teacher.
I think about Mr. Woodruff, who's a custodian at Booker T. Washington. When I would get in trouble when I was rambunctious, when I was young, before I knew any better, I would get kicked out of class. Instead of sending me home or kicking me out of school, anything like that, he would give me a dust mop or make me go empty trash cans or help him do his duties in the building. And he would spend some time mentoring me. As I'm working, he's working, and we talk about life. So that was just a building custodian.
Well, I always felt accepted and loved everywhere I went, and there was so much support from all the teachers, all the administration, and it really helped shape who I am today.
I really loved all of my teachers. They really inspired me in a lot of ways to really love what I do and help me to love learning.
There was a teacher, Joy Weedman, who was a kindergarten teacher at Garden Hills when I first started. And even though she wasn't my teacher, she was the person next door to me who taught me how to be a kindergarten teacher. And I think lots of times teachers don't realize that they're doing such a wonderful mentorship to young teachers who are just starting out in the profession.
I think something that's so important for teachers to realize is the role that they play in every single student's life. And some kids, this is their biggest support, is their teachers and their family at school. So I think they really needed to treat school and their classrooms as a family.
Every teacher that cares, that works with the student, they really make a difference.
If you are excited about school and the things that you are teaching, then the kids are going to be excited about what they're learning.
Always be there for your students if any questions or like if they're down.
Keep it interesting. When you can afford to do so, keep it lighthearted.
When I think back on the teachers that I appreciate the most, they are the ones that made me work the hardest.
Don't ever give up on kids. Be that special person for somebody. It's important.
A lot of these kids are capable of so much more than we ever were. My son is smarter than I am, my daughter's smarter than I am, and I look at the curriculum that they're going through today, and I can tell you, Unit 4 is really pushing kids, and I appreciate that. And those are going to be the things that will serve the district and our community well in the future.
Raise your expectations. Our kids, a lot of them are very, very bright. They have a lot of talent in a variety of areas. Raise your expectation. Expect more. They can give you more, and they will give you more.
I think what we realized in our later lives is that those that meant the most to us were people that truly cared about us and truly wanted to understand who we were at that time and who I think wanted to serve us to the best of their ability.
Just continue to have fun, continue to smile. We're doing it for the kids, and go Chargers.
Go Maroons.
Champaign Schools rock, guys.
Very well done, Stephanie. Yes, clap. Are there any alumni in the house? If there are, would you please stand? There we are. Yep. Are there any teachers or people in the house that come across children and can impact a child's life? Would you please stand? I would say that would be everybody. Right? All right. All right, next on the agenda are public comments. I do not have any cards in front of me. Is there anyone in the audience that would wish to speak? All right. Next item on the agenda, communications, CFT. Thanks, Kathy. CESP, PTA Council.
Hi. I just wanted to take this opportunity on behalf of the council to say thank you. We had our first meeting and we had representatives from the district there to talk about the referendum, and we had a great open conversation, and all the members were very appreciative of you coming out and doing that. We just wanted to say thank you. And we also, when we got to our agenda item that said, what do we want to take to the school board? We usually have some beginning of year things to go over, and we didn't have that this year. So great job. Continue doing what you're doing, and fantastic. Then I also wanted to say from myself, thank you. It's been a great 2 years as president, and we've elected a new president. So Kathy MacArthur will be taking over, and she will be here at the next meeting. She had some family things this evening, so she couldn't come, but she looks forward to working with all of you. But you still get me as a vice president. So.
Anna, thank you for your service. We appreciate it. Communications from board members. Karis, start us off.
Yes, I wanted to thank the GAP and Sarah Von Holton that came to the school district and donated supplies. The GAP, located over at the marketplace, cares deeply for our schools and asked if we had needs. And so I put them in contact with administrators, and they did a fantastic job of donating new notebooks and supplies to our kids. So I want to sincerely thank them for that.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you. Anyone else? Jamar.
I think one of the recognitions, I'm sure it'd be at a later one, but our very own Stephanie Stewart has been recognized as the Central Illinois Business Magazine, one of the 40 under 40.
40 under 40.
So it's a great recognition for her to have in the city, and she does great work for us. And so I just wanted to acknowledge that now, even though I'm sure it'll be later on. So, and then the second piece, I didn't get a chance to make the video. I think I had a meeting here when I was supposed to be meeting them at Atlanta Bread. So I'm gonna get mine now. My schools are Bodenfield, Dr. Howard Bodenfield, Franklin, and Centennial, class of 2001. My great my best memories have to be probably at Franklin Middle School. I like a lot of them, probably at the Franklin, because I learned the most life skills there. I did they asked me to come back as a freshman to do an open house for the parents and speak. And the one thing that I said that my principal, Ms. Fletcher, at the time was not happy with me with, I told the parents that I didn't learn anything academically, but I learned an awful lot about life. And so in that time, the teacher that I remember lots of them. They were good, but the one that stands out would have to be Jennifer Walters, who was my 8th grade English teacher at Franklin. She's no longer in our district, but she and I, we had our differences at the beginning of the school year, if to say the least. But by the end of the year, she definitely gave me my love of reading. She forced me to read books. She introduced me to new books, new authors, where now I enjoy reading. And so how schools prepared me for future, where I am here currently, that love of reading has definitely helped me put me in these positions, because here on this board, we have lots of reading. So that's what I would have said had I made the video shoot.
Thanks, Jamar. Anyone else? No? Student Ambassador, Cedric? No. None? All right. Now we're on informational items, upcoming events. Ileana, would you like to start us off, please?
September 9th, 2014, Centennial and Central Tours, 9 to 10 a.m.
September 10th, 2014, ESL Bilingual Parent Advisory Council, PAC meeting, 6:30 to 8 p.m. at the International Prep Academy down on Kirby Avenue.
September 16th, Centennial and Central Tours, 9 to 10 a.m.
September 16th, one-on-one mentor training, 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. at the Urbana Free Library.
September 18th, balanced calendar, school improvement day, no school for students.
September 18th, Education Equity Excellence Committee meeting, 4:00 p.m. in the Mellon Boardroom.
September 19th, balanced calendar, parent-teacher conferences, no school for students.
September 22nd through October the 10th, balanced calendar fall intercession.
September 22nd, special board meeting, 6 p.m.
September 23rd, 2014, Centennial and Central Tours from 9 to 10 o'clock in the morning.
September 29th, special board meeting, 6 p.m.
September 30th, Centennial and Central Tours, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m.
September 30th, social justice seminar, 5 to 6:30 p.m., Mellon Boardroom.
All right, thank you all very much.
Question.
Yes, Jamar.
Because I'm a member of social justice, like, you know, Dr. Taylor can tell us how we starting off our social justice for the year.
Sure. So we've actually taken a little bit of a shift. We have 4 action groups working this year in 4 different areas. They wanted to get some work done and do some projects. And so one of those is over immigration and immigrant families, and that's run by Maria Lanas. We have one that Dr. Degree, Elizabeth Degree, is going to be running with about students with disabilities, kind of counter-narrative projects or awareness projects. So they're just getting together, starting those out. The other one is a racial identity group. We have about 11 people working to get that moving. We'll be working with high school age boys. And the last one is LGBT supports for families, and that's run by Angie Franklin and Danielle Cook. And then our first social justice seminar, so we only have 4 this year, is actually on the school to prison pipeline and the criminalization of our youth. And then we have Ms. Patricia Avery for the second part of that from President of the NAACP, who'll be talking to us with someone else, Sarah Blagoyan, about restorative justice and how we should be looking at those practices to help us in our schools. So join us. It's open to everybody, 5 o'clock on the 30th.
First item, reports, new business, community schools presentation, Dr. Wiegand.
Thank you. One of the main goals from the district, from the board, and from myself, from our district strategic plan is to effectively engage parents and other community stakeholders to bring about strong partnerships that improve the health and well-being of our community. And when as a community we struggle in supporting all of our students and our families, we know that the existing inequities will continue. Over the course of my years in Champaign Unit 4, I have had the privilege and honor to work with Imani Bazell. And Imani and others really laid the groundwork for a community-wide solution to this problem through the Great Campus Plan. And when I became superintendent, Imani, I think she gave me a little break for maybe a year, and then came back to me and said, there are some promises that were made and that we need to come back and revisit and take a look at in order to address the needs of all our students and our families. And so this evening I would like Imani to come forward, and she is going to share a bit about the Great Campus Plan and how this leads into the community school model that we would like the board to and the audience to certainly get information about, as well as hopefully then charge the administration with some next steps. Okay?
Thank you,
Thank you, Imani.
Wiegand. And yes, for years we've served on committees and task forces and everything in between. I'm pleased that you all have called upon her to continue this work, and she has been a good ally around racial equity and excellence in education. With me this evening, I have Dr. Tom Moore, who is a former school board member, and Ms. Patricia Avery, who is the president of our local branch of the NAACP. I have two of my board members here from SisterNet, Renita Pearlford and Rita Miles. So we are here as folks who worked on the initial Great Campus work. Tom, Patricia, and I are here. We've got some others who aren't here this evening. And these two certainly, are part of the SisterNet Brain Trust, who is sort of holding this down in the community for us. We have with us today, and you have the beginning of her slideshow there, who I'll call up in a moment, Miss, excuse me. I'm sorry.
Would you like some water?
I'm okay.
Okay.
Miss Melissa Mitchell is here, and she is our more than 50 miles away, so she's an expert. So she's come down from Chicago to teach you all about community schools. And what I'm going to do is try to, as briefly as I can, give you the historical context for how we got here today. And there are multiple people in this room, actually even sitting up there, who were there at the beginning when we think about the Great Campus. My Urban League colleague at the time, whose office was right next door to mine, is your board president, Miss Lori Bonnet. So she saw all the people coming in and out of the building as we worked on developing a plan for the district that would speak to the needs of Seats to the North, which was a major condition of the consent decree. And since that referendum that was supposed to pay for that failed, and we wanted it to fail because we had been double-crossed by the administration. Everybody knows that, so I'm not saying anything new. We have a new administration who is willing to step forward and with me ask you to fulfill the promises that were made in that time period. When we ended up getting some of our promises met, right? We've got a beautiful Garden Hills Elementary School now with a wonderful theme, the IB theme. We've got a whole new green Booker T. Washington that's a STEM academy. That was all those things were proposed with the great campus. What we're talking about today, and what Melissa will help you all come to understand better through her work, is the other things that we haven't quite implemented yet, that we used to call full service, that's now called community schools. Well, when that referendum failed, many community members were quite angry, which is why we tried to help make it fail, which we won't do with the new referendum. Unless you piss us off. No, I'm just kidding. So Tom and Patricia and others, we did work really hard to say, okay, the school district doesn't understand what the community to the north wants and needs. So we will put our heads together and we'll turn to university friends and colleagues to help us come up with a proposal to submit to the school district to say, this is what we expect to be done. This is what we stand behind. And hundreds of community members have gone in and out the Urban League, in and out focus groups, sessions, community meetings, where we gathered all of this up. You all received some of those documents in your board packet. So I just wanted to historicize to say, actually, we're not coming to you to ask you for something new and different. These were promises that were made that have to do with meeting the needs of kids and families, so we can truly breathe life into the idea of equity and excellence in education. So what we propose is a whole zone on the north side of town that implements the community school model, that we would make sure that whoever lives in this zone, that we'll find Booker T. Washington, Garden Hills, and Stratton are the 3 elementary schools that fall into this zone, that whoever lives in that zone, we have partnerships with various public entities and private entities to make sure there won't be a problem anymore. You need a school physical, we got that. Vaccinations, we got that. Dental, we got that. Mental health care, social work, we got that. Community needs a place to meet to decide what's important for us. A whole question of community empowerment and self-determination, we got that. That's a part of what community schools do. Schools become hubs. They become places that the community actually sees themselves in and of, and the community plays a role in setting direction for these spaces, and they're no longer spaces that open at 7 and close at 3. So that's a whole new way of doing school we're talking about. What Melissa's going to tell you about is that it's not new in the country, and that we have a lot of support around the state and the nation, and it is the way for doing schools of the future. So we're asking you to join us so we are not late to that party, that we can actually be a part of trailblazers. Because the way we'll do it in Champaign, folks will want to know the way we did it, because we will have our own unique way of doing it. And Melissa even said when we were meeting earlier that not only is she here to help us, but she's going to get a lot out of working with us. Because, of course, I presume when we finish talking, you all are going to say, rah, rah, yeah, go on and do it. So you all understand the consent decree context for the great campus, and that what we're bringing back to you today are the other things that were in that proposal that were promised we would get. That we just wanted to start with the new Booker T. Washington and the new Garden Hills. We never got to those other things. So what you find in your packet are those other things. And there's a name for it, and it's called community schools. But if I can, very briefly, Vernita is just fantastic. I hope over time you all get a chance to know her. She is particularly interested in the arts, though she has a fabulous background in international relations, social justice, what have you. But as Stratton is transitioning to an arts-based themed school, this woman right here is going to be a major player in helping us understand what that should look like in the context of a zone and in the context of equity and excellence in education. And our board member, Rita Miles, actually her background is in nursing, and psychology. So she has a mental health, a behavioral health background, which she's going to bring to serve us well in this initiative. Also a part of local Black Nurses Association. Those are the connections and partnerships we're going to want that we already all but have at the table. But if I can quickly, before Melissa comes up, ask Patricia and Tom to just give us a few words, because you all have that. I know I have to. I'm not forcing these two, but at least these two. If you can just, they came here to be supportive, but Tom, as a former board member, I think to speak to other board members is important because he was also a part of the community effort to help the community find its voice and tell the board what it wanted. And Patricia has just been around and been active. Y'all saw she even graduated from here. It's been too long. But has been a leader in our community for years and was an integral part, again, of us pulling this proposal together, that we are so happy 6 years later we're back and taking seriously.
Well, just good evening. I just want to say thank you to Amani and her team for being so diligent in terms of making sure that the consent decree and those promises that were made are kept. And so I would defer to her work and just give her a big round of applause for sticking and staying and making sure that we continue to make sure that that promise is made. As far as where we are today, I just want to thank the board, because when I look at this board, I was really impressed. I thought I should break out my camera and take a picture of, I think this board really is one board that has been open to new ideas, ready and willing to listen, to take our schools where all students reach their highest achievement. And so I just want to commend this board from the diversity to your willingness to be open to new ideas, and the fact that we are going to be listening to this whole notion of a community school, and your ears are open and you look like you're ready to listen and take in this information. I can't be more proud of that. And so I'm going to turn it over to Tom, because he was sitting where you were sitting, and we did put in a lot of work to get to this place. But I feel like we are making strides, and that's what's important, that we are moving forward and looking for resolve to make sure that all of our students are where they are academically. And we are looking at it from a whole perspective. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks, Pat, and thank you also, Iman, for pulling this together, and thank the board for giving us the opportunity to present it and for you to hear it. I was impressed in looking at the video, and if you notice, very few of the graduates mentioned that their teachers were excellent in their field of study. What they mentioned was the encouragement they got, the motivation that they got, the belonging, the sense of belonging they got, the feeling of being a part of the school. I find that just amazing, that we hire people for doing one thing, and they end up having to do something else. You take that and you put that in the context of this community school strategy. I was on this board, and Susan Zola will remember this. She seems to never go away, but so we were sitting in the same space a couple decades ago, and when we went to the schools of choice, I don't know if you really understand what happens when you go to schools of choice, because we were always led to believe that what people wanted were neighborhood schools. If you go to a schools of choice, you don't have neighborhood schools anymore, because people don't go to the school primarily in their neighborhood. They go somewhere else. So now in the year 2014, we have to think about how do we reinvent that concept of neighborhood schools, and maybe what we're thinking about are community schools. That if you go to our schools, you belong to our community, and our community now is responsible for all of those children who walk through the door. And this strategy that's getting ready to be presented to you is one that hits on all of the things that the graduates mentioned in their review or assessment of what it was like to go through a unit for school. And so I think it behooves us to begin getting our hands around the non-tangibles of what it is to educate children. And herein, I think, lies a great opportunity to begin to focus in on those kinds of things. So I appreciate your willingness to listen and your attention to us today, and also to Imani for the hard work that she's done forever, and Susan, who keeps sticking around no matter what happens. So thank you again.
And just one quick note, because I am an alumni of Centennial. My favorite teacher was Mr. Rose at Centennial High School, the math teacher. Mr. Rose.
My name is Melissa Mitchell. I'm the Executive Director of the Federation for Community Schools. I'm really happy to be here tonight, and I appreciate the opportunity. What I'm going to do is set some context for you all around what the community school strategy is writ sort of large. I am not going to provide for you a prescription of what a community school looks like. I'm going to talk about the strategy. What it looks like in Champaign will be up to you all. Just by way of background, the Federation for Community Schools, we are a statewide collaborative that amplifies the voice and abilities of community schools. My role here today is to talk about the work that we've seen in Illinois and elsewhere around the community school strategy and share the learnings from other communities, which gets to what Imani said earlier about how I will also be learning from you as you're on this journey. By way of background, full disclosure, I was a community school resource coordinator. You'll hear a lot about that resource coordinator role a little bit later on in my remarks. So I come to this work both from someone who has been able to learn from different community school practitioners, but who has actually been in a community school and implemented the strategy. What is a community school? Community school is both a place and a set of partnerships. It's really about bringing together public schools, nonprofit organizations, local government, local businesses, citizens, families, and students to create a structure that will achieve a holistic vision for child and youth success. It really is also about figuring out how we're organizing our community's resources in coordinated and efficient fashions around children and families, and doing this wrap around the school and the school day and the academic piece, so that children are not only achieving academically, but are also engaged in youth development, learning opportunities, enrichment, health and wellness, family supports, a whole range of different pieces that I'll talk about in a minute. Through this approach, community schools become the center of their communities. We really are talking about creating an environment where we are providing children and families with what they need to reach their fullest potential, not just academically, but also as people. We were having a conversation a little bit earlier about how we think about college and career readiness, and a lot of times that conversation is about what is the skill set that I have to go into that college classroom, to go into the workforce. It's really also about what is the problem-solving ability that I have. How do I understand, or how do I know that the way that I might have had a conversation with my friends that I spent the day with yesterday is very different than the conversation I'm having with you today. How am I learning how to work as part of a team? So how are we looking at weaving all those supports together so children are getting those experiences, and what does that environment look like? The ultimate vision of a community school is that effective and aligned use of external resources support children, parents, and families. And again, I would love to be able to say to you, next I'm going to put up a picture and have a whole list of all the things every program you'll need, every intervention. It's not what it's about. It's about identifying the needs, assets, and opportunities in your own communities and using this as a strategy for organizing supports effectively. Imani talked about the transformation and kind of where you are in this process. I just want to talk a little bit about how the Great Campus and a Promise Zone approach fits with a community school strategy. The Great Campus, as I understand it, is really about, again, this comprehensive vision for what we want for our schools and how we want them to be preparing children and young people for their futures, the kind of family connection, the type of community connection, and that real sense of us being of the school and the school being of us as a community. One of the key fundamental aspects of effective community school development is a strong teaching, learning, and curricular environment. And from what I've learned, the work that's been done at Stratton, Booker T. Washington, and Garden Hill has really served to set up that academic environment. But how are we making sure that our children and families have everything that they need to take advantage of that academic environment? And how are we rounding that out with all the other opportunities that children need and deserve to learn in different ways? Why is this important? I like this as an illustration that kind of gets at some of the things we're talking about here. I don't like it because it's not strength-based. Having said that, when we talk about being able to maximize a learning environment, one of the things I think a lot about when I think about conversations about the academic component of a child's school day and what that looks like, I think about the pressure that we put on children and young people to walk across the threshold of a classroom and be able to let go of everything they have going on. I would like to tell you that as an adult, I do that every day in my office. I have had, something went up, my dog got sick this morning, I walk into my office and I'm focused. I don't do that as an adult. And I don't know that we can expect children to walk into the classroom and automatically be ready to participate in learning if we haven't looked at what are the conditions for them to be ready in that space. We talked about immunization and physicals. Those are key components. It's also, does a young person feel that he or she has the confidence level to engage in those opportunities? Are we looking at overcoming some of the barriers posed by unmet mental health needs, health and wellness? Are we looking at strengthening families? Are we looking at addressing things like chronic absenteeism / consistent school attendance? The community school strategy is a strategy not for, again, saying these are the steps, these are the things you have to do to make those things happen. It's a strategy for organizing the resources that you all have in your community to address those underlying issues. How does this work? This is really simplified, and there's additional materials in your folders, but at a basic level, community schools do a couple things. They align school programming. So how are all the partners that are connected to our schools working towards a shared vision that we have for success for our children and young people? What are the outcomes they're working towards, and how are they hitting those outcomes? And how are they integrated with each other and not duplicative? Bringing together stakeholders. I think that the conversation around the development of a vision for the great campus really highlights this piece. This is about shared leadership and shared decision making. It is not about a superintendent or a principal or a community partner or me or the State Board of Ed saying, this is what you will do. It is about a community, families, a school, and leadership coming together and saying, what we want for our children is this, and this is how we're going to achieve it. It's about figuring out how everyone contributes their expertise to this process instead of, I have a program I might be able to do, you have a program I might be able to do. It's really about this shared decision-making and expertise. And then coordinate programs and resources. This is where that resource coordinator or community school manager person comes in. I shared earlier that I gave a presentation not too long ago to a group of family and community engagement managers about the community school strategy. And I got to this coordinate programs and resources and the partnership piece. And one of my colleagues sitting in the front, leaned back and smiling. I finished talking. He says, "Oh, my principals have that done. They are set. They have all these partnerships. I don't need what you're talking about." And I said, "That's really awesome. That's a great foundation. What are all the partners doing?" And he said, "Well, they're doing their programs." And I said, "That's great. Is it working towards a shared vision? Are you using data to assess whether you're making progress? Is it coordinated? Do you have partners that are providing the same service to roughly the same group of children? Are they even programs that you need?" So it's about this coordination piece and this connection piece. This is something that our members developed, and I'm not going to spend a ton of time on it. It's in the packet. While I will not give you a prescribed list of programs and steps to take, I will tell you that there are some fundamental hallmarks of community school implementation. There's programming and supports that are offered in kind of those 4 buckets. One of the things I want to highlight about the academics piece, I don't like the name of that pillar. I want to rename it, but I haven't worked through my committee process to do that yet. It really should be called Learning Opportunities. And that is about not just what's happening to support in the classroom, in those 4 walls. It's also about how are we using time as a resource. So if you're going to have an after-school program or an intercession program or a summer program, how are you using that time to help children master and build on the academic goals that they have for the school day? How do you integrate the new Illinois Learning Standards with out-of-school time programs in a way that isn't more of the same, but in a way that says this is a whole other way to apply that learning? This is a whole other way to get at fractions. We're going to build a bridge. How do you look at really that intentional alignment and using that time as a resource? The other piece to me that's important about that, how do we give kids all of the developmental and learning opportunities they need? I am a huge believer that every child and young person deserves the opportunity to try out for a sports team. I love what the alumni said about how he made the football team. I never made any of our teams. I'm not good at things like that, but I had the opportunity. I tried out for plays. How do we make sure kids have those experiences? Art, cultural exploration, broadening horizons. How are we using time to organize those opportunities for children and young people? Health and wellness, that runs the gamut. It will look like how it needs to look in your community. It might be immunizations. It might be vision screenings. When I was a community school resource coordinator, we did a vision screening. One of my kids did, we followed the screening up with going to LensCrafters and getting glasses. And one of my kids did lose his glasses on the way home, but overall it was a victory because most kids got off the bus with their new glasses. But that was a need we had in my school and my community, and that was a partnership we created. Families. This is about both coordinating access to supports for families, using the school as that kind of hub or a connector. It's also about relying on families as assets. You have families, they're the best experts on the kids, for sure. You have families that have parents that have talents to contribute. How are you making those connections, and how are you creating an environment where people feel like I matter and my voice matters and I have a say in how this rolls? Same thing with the community. How is the school going to be a resource for the community, and how will we tap into community partnerships? I'm going to talk more about that in a second. The bottom elements are more around shared leadership, the integrated learning piece, some of the things that I've already talked about. What I want to talk most about is right now is the partnerships, leverage resources, and community engagement. This is not about buying a whole bunch of programs and supports. This is about funding this key coordination function and creating the partnerships necessary to bring services and make those connections to the school. The example I think about a lot is if you have a mental health need, you have roughly two approaches to addressing that need, right? I can sit there as a school leader or as a social worker or as a district person and think, how am I going to fundraise? Where's the funding I can connect to bring additional supports like that in? Or I can say, who in my community has funding to provide that support to my fifth graders? How do I make a partnership that will bring that support to my fifth graders more intentionally? And how do I make that happen in a way that makes sense for my school and for my community and for the students and also for the partners? So that's where that resource coordinator and that coordination piece comes in. It's about creating these partnerships that can leverage existing investments in the community. And in the community, I think often, we think about it as the hospital. Right, that's one huge partnership. There's also smaller community-based health practitioners. How are you making that partnership? We think about youth development and enrichment and recreation. The why, yeah, that is one really big one. There's also folks in the communities that might want to volunteer. There's smaller organizations. So it's about the gamut of how we're looking at those partnerships. Again, it's about integration and efficiency. What's already happening? What needs to be happening? Who needs to be engaged? What's that partnership? And the resource coordinator is sort of the glue of all of these pieces. Additional key inputs. This, again, we were talking earlier about the process that you all have already undertaken. You've done a lot of this work. I've been reading the materials on the Great Campus. I've been reading the materials on, how this vision came about. I've been talking to Amani quite a bit about it. A lot of these conversations, a lot of the visioning, a lot of the what we want for our community has happened. So a lot of these key inputs you already have. One of the things I did want to talk a little bit about when I talk about the funding piece, again, the focus is on funding this function and on the partnerships that can be created to leverage existing resources and maximize expertise in the community. It's not about you know, I need a huge pot of money to buy all of these things or create from scratch all of these things that are already happening in my community. It's about the connections. Leadership roles. This is not a leadership list strategy. It requires leadership from the community and community voice and input. It requires family leadership. You have to have a willingness, and I see that here, to engage in those conversations with communities and families. It requires school district leadership. There needs to be a really strong vision from the district to put a stake in the ground and say, we know what our children need. We know that we have an opportunity to create partnerships, to provide opportunities for children and families to access supports and enrichment. It requires leadership from teachers. The AFT has done a tremendous amount of work on the role that teacher leaders can play in community school implementation, and also on how this type of an approach, this way of wrapping our supports and services around children and families, how that can help support teachers in facilitating learning and doing what they're being tasked to do in the classroom. It requires a different way of thinking sometimes for some of the partners and service providers. I've heard everything from, we can only come provide a mental health unit Tuesdays at 10. We can only do pull-outs. When I was at school-based personnel, school-based staff, we could not do pull-outs that often. Like, I couldn't pull kids out for an hour every single Tuesday. How are the adults shifting how they're approaching their own work so that the supports are offered make sense for the lives of children and families and not make sense for the fact that I've always just done this Tuesdays at 10? It also requires that full-time resource coordinator / community school manager. Again, I would love to tell you that I can put up a picture or a description of what that person is. It'll really depend on the community. Some of the outcomes that we have seen, and as Amani talked about, this is part of a movement not just here in Illinois but nationally. So we've seen a whole range of outcomes, some of which are what I would call researchy outcomes that my friends who are actual researchers and evaluators would feel comfortable about. Some of them are what one of my board members calls, it's because a community school feels different. I'm not entirely comfortable with that as an outcome either, but I think it's there. Shared accountability for student achievement, youth development, and school outcomes. It becomes less about what is the principal accomplishing and more about how are we as a community accomplishing these goals. Sustained family engagement, parents as partners and as shared decision makers. This is a collective impact approach, again, about looking at all the different expertise that can be brought to bear. Change in school culture and climate, a more welcoming environment, different types of relationships between children and adults. Teachers feeling supported, we talked a little bit about that. Students who are ready to learn and who have access to time and supports to continue to learn. So building again on that time as a resource piece. Long-term partnerships, that yields more steady improvement and gains over time. And we have also seen changes in attendance patterns, improvement in academics, and changes in behavior. Those are just some, and I am happy to share more details about that. These are some additional resources. Our website, the National Coalition for Community Schools, we have a forum coming up on November 14th, which is a learning exchange for practitioners and interested parties across all levels of the work. Again, I'm happy to share more information. And I really do want to say the work you all have already undertaken around developing a vision for the great campus and how the community school strategy can fit in with that vision, I think is to be commended. A lot of times, I think these conversations start and they get put in kind of the too hard bucket, or I think they start and people think about it's going to be this slice. And I think the breadth that I've seen and the commitment to the community voice and to the voice of families is something that I will then take to other communities that are starting to take this work on.
Very good. Questions? I don't have questions, but can I just start by saying thank you so much. You know, and as I've kind of had a preview of what you were going to present, and having met with Dr. Wiegand and Amani earlier. And for me, I see this as once this is up and running, so I'm projecting that everybody else will want to be a part of this. And so I'm very excited about the holistic approach. I think we should be doing that as a community, and it will take everyone working towards that goal. So it's not a small task because it's not the board and the administration doing it. it's the teachers and the staff and the parents buying into the program that this is important for our kids. So thank you very much.
Thank
you. Yeah.
Ladies first?
Sure.
So thank you also very much. I liked your thoughts earlier about, going from, neighborhood schools to schools of choice, but this is community schools, and this is really about what public education is supposed to be. And so I really appreciated that. My question, though, isn't for you, it's for Judy.
Okay.
Several years ago, I thought we had hired someone whose job is very similar to what you were listing as the resource coordinator. Didn't we hire someone to go out and try and coordinate resources for kids?
Don't recall that.
I remember the discussion about it several years ago, and I thought we had hired that person. But as you were talking about it, and I was thinking, gosh, that sounds familiar. We've never had a report on it, and so I didn't know. And I think that is really important, that there are so many people out there who want to do things, maybe don't even know they want to do things, but if you asked them, they would. And to bring all these different things together, I think is something that's...
Yeah, not to mind, I can't recall that. So.
And I think one of the things I probably should have underscored more is that this is a person who's at the school. So
yeah,
they're
yeah,
really,
right.
to your point, like asking those questions. My mom always says, you don't know what you don't know. So if no one's ever asked me what I'm good at and what I might like to share with other parents or other community members, I'm not going to necessarily walk into the building and be like, hello, principal, I am excellent at crosswords. Lame, but like what would be it's about that process and asking those questions. I also think one of the things you touched on is important too. What is the feedback loop? Like what's the report back? So how do we know that if I'm your resource coordinator and we're bringing these partners in place, how are we using data to say like these were the goals we set and this is where we moved? We set reducing chronic absenteeism as a goal. This is where we moved. So that piece I think is important, and I think I didn't go into enough.
Well, and yeah, you kind of answered what I was going to have as my comment had you said, yes, we do have that person. I was going to say, well, how do we bring this down to each of the schools? But obviously we need to work on.
Unless you're thinking of the mentor volunteer coordinator, but that doesn't touch on
No, it's something
this.
different.
Okay.
I also want to thank you too for this presentation. You made some distinctions there that I really wanted to point out that I think are critical. One, making the distinction between education and learning. And so I thought that the metrics for evaluating the learning aspect provide some benefits for supplemental options for our kids for learning at different hours, bringing the community in with the schools, and also looking at new ways to revamp our schools, from a programming standpoint. So I really enjoyed this, and I definitely would like to see this continue to go forward with all of our schools. I think some of the partnerships, as we are, I believe, the third biggest employer in the community, I think could be a huge grab, for us, so students understand the cradle to the career aspect of what they could utilize or put into practice some of the things that they're learning in schools today.
Sorry, I bumped Garrison in front of you. I'm sorry.
Not a problem. First of all, I want to thank you for the presentation and thank everybody who's played a part in this tonight for giving us this opportunity. It was definitely informative and something like as a board, we really value having all kids have access and opportunity to access the access. I guess that's what I'm looking for. And so implementing something like this would definitely be, as you said, we're already moving forward, but continuing the conversations, continue to move forward would be right up our alley. One of the things that you said that stuck out for me is when you said was with the kid with all of the issues, and you said we, as adults, we expect kids to drop everything at the door. But as adults, we don't do that. And that's one thing that I've harped on since I stepped on this board is that, we expect adults to be kids to be adults. And that's a huge thing. And earlier I mentioned that my time at Franklin was probably some of the most memorable moments. And I'm very clear. It's not because I learned a lot academically. It was really my life skills that I learned now, because at Franklin, pretty much through all the years, there was a teacher or some teachers that took time to get to know me. What is your family life at home? What do you want to do when you grow up? And it wasn't about, okay, well, this is your multiplication, this is division. It wasn't school-based things that they asked about. It was about me. And that's why those are the most memorable times in my school career. And so I think if we take on that, you can get a child to do anything you want them to do if you first show that you care about them first and foremost. And so I think that was probably the most important thing that you said in this entire presentation, because we don't understand that, then none of this other stuff I don't think will even work, because our kids are going to just shut down from the very beginning. And so my question is, what's the next step from here?
Well, so I think from my perspective, the next steps are for you all to continue to have these conversations and continue to do the research and put in place a plan for what implementing this strategy looks like in Champaign. I will defer this to you.
Yeah. So when you take a look at some of the materials that you have, and I look at the different stages, I think that we are past the exploring stage. We've done a lot of the work already. And so I took a look at stage 2 in the emerging, and it talks about this period is marked by a commitment to jump in and do something, and that a decision has been made to commence the transformation by introducing some level of services, securing some funding, and beginning to develop partnerships. So I believe we're at the point where Imani and myself and Lori certainly reach out to different community partners and have these conversations and start to develop a plan. And so I also want to mention that I did reach out to a number of community partners who are also in the audience tonight, and so they could come and hear firsthand this information. So I wanted to just mention that and to thank them for taking the time to come and listen to the presentation.
Can I say something? As I'm listening to you tonight, and I'm thinking about certainly my time on the board and all the things that we do that really have led to this. So if you look at the Actions program, it is a smaller version of this, to where we really are working with the child and the family if there needs to be. I also, Tracy, as I look at you and the work that your organization does with Access, I mean, it is the holistic approach to the child and to the family. And this is, someone mentioned, I think, Tom, maybe it was you, talking about hard conversations, or somebody, no, Patricia, you were thanking us for the hard conversations that we've had. But I think those hard conversations started with a consent decree. Those are really hard conversations. And while I was on the outside listening to those conversations and having been at the league for a while, I know those are really hard, long, and sometimes hurtful conversations to have. So that work has been done. So we now, 6 years later, the time is ready. The board, I think, as you will have, if you've been paying attention, will see that we're not afraid to have a conversation that may make you uncomfortable or may make us uncomfortable. And you have the leadership team in order to make that happen. So I'm very excited that we are here. But I would like, Judy, if you or Imani could talk about, we've talked about big picture, but if we could talk about a little more specifically about what that might look like. Can we do that a little bit?
Imani, you want?
You mean when we can say we have a zone, or you mean sort of what would the next steps look like?
Like partnerships, like how does that work?
Okay, so, excuse me. Tracy, I'm sorry I didn't see you when I was up here before. Welcome. The others came up and said something, and I hope you'll take a moment or two, because Tracy always gave me wide breath, and he ran interference for me a lot as my executive director at the Urban League, as we were doing a lot of this work. So I want to acknowledge Tracy for running a lot of interference and being the kind of leader that we even need in this kind of situation, and now running an initiative that couldn't be more aligned with the zone than the Access initiative is. So partnerships. So I'll give you an example. Judy and I'm not sure who else was in the room at the time. You know, people say, oh, pre-K, you know, people say, okay, cradle to career or kindergarten to career. And I said, Judy, I want to make sure you know that when I say pre-K, I don't mean like early childhood, I mean prenatal. And she said, okay, yeah, that makes sense, okay. And so then what that means automatically is we would need a close relationship with the Champaign-Urbana Public Health District. Because who else already exists in our community who would know pretty much who every pregnant woman is in our zone who is of low income and would need assistance? They would be going through the Champaign-Urbana Public Health District for the WIC program, for prenatal care, et cetera, et cetera. That connection would be really important. SisterNet is an important connection there to say, then we can, you know, get other women to be other mothers and mentors and supporters to these pregnant women, make sure they're taking their prenatal vitamins, make sure they know about child development, all those kinds of things. We're talking about serious business here. Cradle, to me, is already, you know, we're already down the road a little bit by the time we're in the cradle. So if we're really serious, child development actually starts in the womb. And that's an example of a partnership that could really work. And to take that further, I've had this conversation with the director of the entire Illinois Public Health Department, who was so pleased to hear about this. He said he'd even be willing to put an RFP together for it, because he'd like to see this kind of thing happen across the state. And he can see the direct connection between what schools need and what the public health service is trying to accomplish. So that's just one tiny example. The Park District already operates in this zone. So sort of think about whoever is already in this zone, they don't even get to decide. They don't get to say no. You know, I'm sorry, you're in this. And I think, is Joe here?
Yes, he is.
Yes. Joe, hey, see? Yeah. Head of the Park District's right there. I'm supposed to be having coffee with the president at some point. Look, there's Sue Gray, president of the United Way. Now, in a number of communities, the United Way, certainly the United Way nationally, is very supportive of this approach. And in various communities, the United Way is even the lead agency or is involved in a lot of the funding initiatives. Maybe they fund the resource coordinator or whatever. And there's actually a United Way. So community schools, there are various sort of models inside of community schools. And one of them is a particular United Way approach that's actually being used all over the country. And, you know, we're calling this the Promise Zone after the At Promise of Success initiative. But some of you all might recognize that language actually from President Obama, in that he looked at the Harlem Children's Zone, which you all have information in your packet, that was actually the model that we started with. And he said, this is a model that needs to be replicated across the country and put money behind it, and is funding what are called Promise neighborhoods across the country. We just have to make our pitch to say they need to send us some of that money. Because right now they're sending them all to big urban areas. Well, every place in the country isn't a big urban area, and everything for big urban areas don't translate. We think what we're going to do here is unique and important and is replicable in other communities that are just like us around the country. So we don't just see piloting this zone for the district that we may then roll out for the whole district. We see this as a pilot that could be replicated actually in other places. We're taking it that seriously. And so let me also then point out that Dr. Mena Clark Pratt is back there from the Chancellor's office. And there's also a community schools model that is directly related to universities. And there's no way we're going to be able to pull this off with the real vision the community spoke about without the partnership of the university. And I know for sure this woman back here is super excited about what can they do to come on board and really make this happen. Because she is a researcher, a theoretician, but let me tell you, this researcher and this theoretician is ready for some action. So I'm down with that. So you got the general idea
Yes, ma'am.
about how partnerships work? Any other partnership questions? Yeah.
Not a partnership question. My question is, since this is happening all across the country and in other places, and it seems to focus on certain parts of the community, so specifically like here in Champaign, it would be our northern end of town. How do we say what happens in that northern part? How does it affect or benefit the rest, the middle and southern parts of our town as well in the long run?
I think that we learn how to do things well there. A lot of people didn't understand, for instance, with the consent decree, that was really about creating an excellent school district. And so what a lot of people thought the consent decree was about making black kids and families in the black community whole in legal language. What it did was made the district become a more excellent district. It taught the district how to collect data, how to read data, how to be data-driven. We put all kinds of software into place and systems into place that everyone who participates, who goes to Champaign schools, every family actually benefited from immensely. That we've got to learn how to talk about these things so folks get it, that as the district even learns how to do this zone well, it's going to figure out how to even do school well, period. But what we've seen in other communities is eventually the district wants a whole rollout. Some places have started that way. Cincinnati, them Cincinnati folks are something else. I think that's worth a field trip. Cincinnati is so on top of it, you wouldn't believe it. I did get to go there for the national conference was held in Cincinnati. In Oakland, it's the entire unified school district is following the model. But you have to note then who lives in Oakland, right? So the point is people are not playing around. They're saying, we put our attention where the data tells us to put it. And right now, our data says you need to be in North Champaign if you want to create real equity and excellence in your school district. And we're going to learn a lot of good stuff. And if any of you all are still on the board over time, you're going to be saying, okay, the next rollout, of course, we're going to want to do is up to middle and to high school. And then you're going to say, okay, when are we going to roll up and embrace this for the whole district? I promise you that. Thank you.
Can I ask
Yeah,
one
thank
other thing? So you've listed 3 schools. How difficult would it be to add one more?
Why are you trying to start stuff all the time? You're just a troublemaker.
I'm thinking Dr. Howard, which is a school that's been struggling and could really use a community support.
People asked about Dr. Howard because it's sort of right on that University Avenue line. It's just on the other side of the street. I think you all should talk about that. I'm not opposed to it. It's not necessarily a school that people from the north side consider a part of the north side, but it's certainly worth some conversation about. I think part of it, Christine, and that sort of brought you here, didn't it? Dr. Howard questions, if I remember correctly. There is, I think what a lot of people on the north side think about Dr. Howard and the Dr. Howard neighborhood was that people in the actual neighborhood didn't necessarily want to be seen as part of the north side and just wanted to be this insular thing. So there's a little bit of friction there. But I hear what you're saying, and I think we should try to meet folks where they are. And if Dr. Howard is in a place where they could see themselves as a part of the zone instead of thinking they're more special than everybody who lives across the street, then maybe it's a conversation worth having. But you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me just interject a little bit. So when I think of Dr. Howard, I think of the demographics of Dr.
Yes.
Howard. Certainly, Amani, I think you would agree that the demographics of the school itself would lend itself to participating in this, not the neighborhood.
Right.
Right.
The neighborhood is the neighborhood demographics are very different
Right.
from the school demographics.
Right.
And so I would hate for us to not look at that.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to it, but I'm just saying
But I
be
know-
aware that we're
understood.
talking about community engagement and neighborhood engagement, and that neighborhood would then be a neighborhood we'd be saying is a part of this. And you understand what I'm saying?
Baby, I know what
There
you're
are some
saying.
folks who don't want to be in the family.
I understand. I get it.
But we can have the little Tracy. He's like, Imani,
Yeah,
just
here we
stop. He's like, that's enough. So a conversation worth having, Christine. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Can we give Tracy just a moment to come and say a little?
I see him
Thank
continually shaking his head, but Tracy, would you please, because Patricia and Tom did. Yeah, thank you.
Well, I've learned a long time ago that it's not important to speak if you don't have anything to say. And so, no, I just would like to say thank you for your interest in exploring this. I think about the climate 10 years ago when we were trying to have these conversations, they were not this welcoming. And so we were meeting most things with, it was a different time, so we should approach it that way. I think there's some information needed for us in the community because there has been a gap in time. So the data and information we were maybe looking at when this was first was created might be a little bit different. But I will say, we are a community that's rich in things, and we're very good at throwing things at things and thinking that we've solved them. And so one of the challenges that we have is creating this opportunity for our community to really see ourselves as a community. We still are pretty isolated. You know, I've been doing this access work that's been referenced a couple of times, and a quarter of my work is about building the infrastructure of partnership and working together. And it's the most difficult thing I do on a daily basis is say to organization X, organization Y, why it's important for us to work together and not be so concerned about what I do. And so let's go for it. I think there are a number of us that be willing to work with you and support.
Thank you. Very good. Okay, thank you all. Great information. So one question for you, Dr. Wiegand. What's our timeline?
So we had that conversation a little earlier, and as we take a look at the different stages of development, we certainly want to be able to come forward to the board by the end of the school year with a more defined plan with some different partnerships that can be in place, as well as you read through this, the coordinator position. I think that'll be part of a larger package as I take a look at redefining some different positions and structures here in the district. So I would bring that back in April.
Okay, thank you. And thank you all, and thank you all the partners that are in the audience. Thank you for coming as well. Okay. Next item. High school programming, New Central and renovated Centennial. Mr. Mark Shagnon.
Okay. Well, it's my privilege to be here tonight to speak with you concerning something near and dear to my heart, and it's all about the reforms that we're going to, I hope, have in our new high school and our renovated Centennial. But I'd like to set the stage first so that you can understand kind of where we are coming from as far as my motivation and as far as saying, do we really have problems or opportunities in front of us? So I'd like to start off with that first. Today's student, ones I meet with on a daily basis, as I was at Centennial today, preparing for the 21st century workforce. What are they facing today? Well, today in America, the largest percent of individuals that are unemployed, underemployed, or lack the skills needed for success in the 21st century are between the ages of 16 and 24. Employers today are experiencing a shortage of qualified workers. According to Edward E. Gordon, an internationally recognized expert in America's future workforce, under certain circumstances, current ones that we have, by the year 2020, there will be 123 million high-skilled positions and only 43 million qualified to fill them. And in comparison, there will be 44 million low-skilled positions and 142 million qualified to fill those positions. This skills mismatch shows a need for attention to the alignment of our educational delivery system to the present and future labor market needs of our employers. The ever-increasing cost of college education is making families look harder at the economic return of a degree in light of the current employment situation that we just discussed. In addition, the increasing cost of a college education is preventing some from even considering a college degree. I met with 2 classes of students at Centennial High School today, and I asked them as freshmen what their plans are for the future. They're all, "Oh, I'm going to college, Mr. Shagnon." I said, "Do you have any idea what that costs?" Most of them did not. I held up this article from the News-Gazette from January 23rd of 2014. For the first time, basic tuition, fees, and room and board over 4 years will cost an incoming freshman more than $100,000. I said, you don't want to go to the University of Illinois to find yourself? You can do that at Walmart. What I want you to do is take your time in high school to prepare for the career you want to go into so that whatever price you pay will pay off. There's a growing knowledge from the fields of brain science, achievement, motivation, and adolescent development, which confirms that high school students today engage and flourish when their learning provides them with, from the perspective of a psychologist, Robert Halpern, a window to the adult world by blending academic and applied learning through introduction of apprenticeships, project-based learning, and other real-world applications. The country simply cannot afford not to come up with a new and more effective approaches to career education and workforce development. These are critical both for the healthy development of our nation's youth, the people we work with every day, and for the overall vitality of the U.S. economy and our society. Here we are today, and what does this phrase truly mean? It was mentioned before, college and career ready. But some of us don't even know what that means. Well, I want to kind of give an explanation of that tonight because I think that leads to where we're going with this discussion. College ready is a student who is academically prepared, ready for the rigor of post-secondary education or training without the need of remedial coursework. It absolutely breaks my heart to meet with Champaign graduates at Parkland Community College who are taking remedial courses. It absolutely breaks my heart, and I got my daughter's permission to say this. She went through Champaign Central High School, received excellent grades in mathematics, went to Illinois State University and took the Compass assessment and failed the math assessment and had to take a remedial math course at Illinois State University. That was not something that her mother and I expected. Being ready means having the reading, writing, mathematics, social, and cognitive skills to qualify for and succeed in the academic training programs of their choice. Career ready. Boy, Mr. Shagnon, you're the career guy. Career ready is a student who possesses both the necessary knowledge and technical skills for employment in their desired field. As an example, a student who is career ready to become a teacher not only possesses knowledge of education policy, but also possesses all the required certificates required to become a teacher. So when we combine those both to seek college and career readiness, it demands that students know more than just content, but demonstrate that they know how to learn and build upon that content to solve problems. Each student will have developed a wide range of skills from communication to organizational skills and understand and be able to work collaboratively in a school or work environment for a productive and satisfying career in the 21st century. That's college and career readiness. So what are we doing in Champaign Unit 4 schools to get there? Well, I've had the privilege for the last 16 years to work in a program called the Education to Careers and Professions Program. It's something that I was able to walk into as a member of our community from my business viewpoint and look at something in the educational world that would take our students and bring them together with the real world and give them an opportunity to see it, taste it, touch it, feel it, and see if it's something they wanted to do. Well, this program, through my work and work of many, many people, has been awarded some nice honors, has been recognized. And as we speak, I've been working with the Pathways to Prosperity group in Illinois, and we may be highlighted in a future edition of their work. Through the ECP program, our students can discover how to identify personal interests, match these with a career pathway, experience the world of work firsthand, and plan an academic program to meet those future goals. To accomplish this, opportunities must be made available for our students to experience the world of work, and the ECP program is our common sense approach to do that. We were just talking about partnerships before. I think when I looked over the last 16 years, I've developed in this community over 700 partnerships with individuals and/or businesses and/or organizations who have said, if you need us, we're there to help your kids. While ECP program incorporates career preparation, it is not a vocational program. It's not a traditional work program. The one sentence that I want to highlight is that ECP is different in many ways, but primarily in its emphasis on helping our students gain a sense of direction and purpose for their life. It would break my heart to watch a student cross the graduation line at the Assembly Hall and/or Tranter and have you as a board shake their hand, shake their principal's hand, shake the superintendent's hand, and be handed a diploma, and have some old guy like me at the bottom of the stairs when they come down and say to that student, what is your purpose and what is your direction in life now? And for that student to look at me and say, I don't know. If that's the answer I'm getting back from that student, then I have failed in my 16 years in this district. I want every student to say to me, Mr. Shagnon, my purpose in life is to do this now, and this is the education and training I need, and I'm going to go do this right outside this door. Hallelujah, we've done. We can't do it without partnerships, though. And we've just mentioned the partnerships in the community schools. Here we go again. All partners must take responsibility, individually and jointly, for the success of each and every learner. We are utilizing the career cruising system. We just brought that in April of 2006 into Centennial as a pilot. Will it work? Won't it work? We used it for about a year, and everybody fell in love with it over there. The kids liked it, the parents liked it, so then we took it to Central High School. Then we've been working with NOVAT. And in 2009, we started working with the middle schools, and today, this program, the Career Cruising System, which is a global leader on online career development, which gives a comprehensive, interactive career guidance program to our kids. They can complete world-renowned interest and skills assessment with Career Cruising. They can search for hundreds of occupations, updated every summer. Search for thousands of post-secondary education options, and if I'm in Illinois and I say, gee, Mr. Shagnon, I don't want to go to school in Illinois, they press one button and it takes them to whatever state they want. Maintain a living electronic portfolio. They have their own electronic portfolio. Every student starting in 6th grade has that available to them. Create a 4-year course plan, create and export professional resumes, and maintain their own personal journal for their career development ideas. Career Cruising was developed for one goal in mind. I want to enjoy what I'm doing. Every student, 6th through 12th grade in Champaign schools, has a free online access to a user-friendly interface, which helps our students satisfy 5 key career guidance needs: self-assessment, career exploration, post-secondary education planning, work search, and performance. This next item is called Career and Technical Education, CTE. Okay? Global economic competition has increased greatly, and the need to develop a workforce with advanced skills, and I mentioned that earlier, advanced skills, remember the numbers, is critical in our success as a society. Our CTE programs today must actively partner with employers, there's that partnership word again, to design and provide high-quality, dynamic programs for our students and what they deserve. People need to start thinking like entrepreneurs. So CTE must offer opportunities for students to do that, in and outside of school, to do whatever they want to do to pursue their dreams as a new business owner. The emphasis to find sources of sustainable energy, the growing demands for healthcare, and science and technology, the STEM-related sectors are all driving the high-skilled demand jobs in our workforce today. CTE must provide, in our high schools in the future, our CTE programs must provide opportunities for our students to gain knowledge and hands-on experience in areas like, but not limited to, architecture, construction, trade, arts, AV, technology and communications, automotive, transportation, hospitality, the culinary arts, human services, manufacturing, industrial technology, agriculture. We live, and this building is built on the richest soil in the world. and we have no agriculture in our schools right now. Business, management, and technology. Another area is dual credit. We've done a lot of work in dual credit to answer this college and career readiness. According to Lisa Lynn, the Parkland Dual College Credit Manager, she shared with us, she said, Mark, in 2009-2010 school year, about 6% of your eligible dual credit students were involved. This year, this past year, fall of 13 to spring of 14, Unit 4 schools have enrolled an average of 143 students, or 12% of eligible age students. Enrollment has increased 93% over the last 4 years in our dual credit program. Just this past spring, Unit 4 reached the 10% mark for junior and senior enrollment for the first time. It's an outstanding accomplishment for our district, and I owe a lot to my college and career counselors for all the hard work they've done. The development of outstanding dual credit program based on a strong partnership. The Education for Employment 330 EFE and Parkland College have recently entered into an agreement to operate the Early College and Career Academy at Parkland College, starting in the fall of 2015. The ECCA will offer college, career, and technical education, CTE courses, dual credit courses aligned with the Illinois State Board of Education approved high school courses to high school students on the campus of Parkland College. The initial CTE course offerings in the fall of 2015 will be in the areas of automotive, advanced manufacturing, computer science, health professions, looking at CNA, which you have to become a nurse, and emergency medical services, and the criminal justice area. I'd like to invite right now Nick Elder, who is the executive director of the EFE in our area, to come forward to say a few words about this new early college and career.
All right, thank you, Mark. I just want to thank members of the board for having me here tonight. So it seems like a big theme tonight has been partnerships. I'm just going to say a real brief piece about this Early College and Career Academy model, which is a very true partnership between our cooperative, of which Champaign Schools is our largest member, and Parkland College, community college here in town. And so we're very excited to start this program fall of 2015. We feel like it's going to be an outstanding opportunity for students from all 14 of our high schools, but especially here, students from Central and Centennial, because of the proximity to Parkland College's campus and the access that they're going to gain to those facilities and programs at Parkland. And so like Mark said, these are true dual credit programs. They're going to be fulfilling high school graduation requirements at the same time earning college credit while they're completing these courses. We're looking at programs, and Mark's listed the programs here, programs that are hard to run at a lot of our schools based on a number of factors, whether it's facilities, whether it's finding a qualified instructor, whether it's not having the student enrollment to create an entire program. And so we're looking at a lot of those things in ways that we can supplement what's currently taking place. A lot of the outstanding CTE programs at our high schools now, how can we supplement that to make more programs available to our students? And this is the first round of offerings. I think that's important to keep in mind. There's a potential here that if these succeed, that we can offer a lot more things. Mark mentioned ag. I mean, that's definitely something that will be looked at in the future if the demand is there and we can make this model succeed. There's going to be an opportunity for a number of students to prove to themselves. And I heard about, in the earlier video about raise your expectations. I mean, this is a way to raise expectations for students, bringing them onto a college campus, letting them show that they have the responsibility and the skills to succeed in a post-secondary environment while they're in high school still, kind of showing them that they can do it, whereas some might not have that confidence to start with. It's going to allow them to earn college credits at a younger age, pursue something they are interested in that might not be available to them at their local school. But it also might show these students what they're not interested in when they're 16 years old, instead of waiting until they're 19, 20, 21 to figure out this isn't what I'm meant to do. And in terms of businesses and the partnerships that exist with businesses, it's a true workforce development program at a young age that we're going to be providing students with some advanced skill training when they're 16, 17, 18 years old. So when they graduate high school and enter the workforce, they've got those workforce-ready skills upon graduation from high school. That's a very basic overview. And I know Mark's got some more information, so when he's done, I'll be happy to answer any questions as well.
Appreciate that, Nick. I wanted Nick to be here because he's worked so hard on this. And what it shares with us as a Unit 4 school district is that with his partnership and with this program starting up, we can, as we look at our new high school and our renovated Centennial, you know, we want to make sure that we're fiscally responsible. And we want to make sure that we're not overdoing what we have. If we've got a great community college in our background and we've got a great way to do CTE work there, let's show our kids that we want to give them the best initial and introductory programs possible. And if they want to advance on, then let's show them that we can do that through the Parkland Community College and let them advance on in manufacturing, automotive, or whatever area it may be. Okay. This one here, the collaboration between this two, I think is going to be wonderful for our kids, and it's going to give a great opportunity for all of our children. Where are we today in CTE? Well, right now at Central High School, we're offering business, family consumer science, and industrial tech. That's it. A few courses in all those areas. Teachers are doing a great job, but we're not doing anything with agriculture. We're not doing anything hardly with any other areas. So we really need to reach out and see what we can do there. And Centennial is at a point where they've got a business and family consumer science area, but they don't have any industrial technology. So students at Centennial must be bused over to Central in order to take industrial technology courses. Now, it's working. Our enrollment in 2011 was about 285 kids in industrial technology, and this past year it went up to 475. And we're doing our best we can with that area, but we're showing such a great demand for that area by our students that we really need to help and show them that we care about them and what they want to do. Space that will support the newest technology being utilized in manufacturing today. That's future space we need. Manufacturing today is in dire need of high-skilled employees. If we want our students to be able to work in high-skilled jobs, then we must provide each and every student who has this interest the opportunity. Should we do this alone? Just as Amani said, we've got to partner with people in this community. In visiting with a number of our local manufacturing firms, and I have talked with every one of them, face-to-face, eyeball to eyeball, they want to help. As an example of that, I'm going to invite to the podium right now Corrine Hillard, and she is the HR director at HL Precision Manufacturing, and she's just going to share with you something that she came to me with as an idea. Corrine.
Thank you, Mark, and if you haven't heard it enough already tonight, thank you all for giving us the opportunity to come and speak. As Mark said, I recently, well, I say recently, it's probably been about 6-8 months now that Mark and I have been working together, but I work for HL Precision Manufacturing in an HR role. We have a facility in Champaign as well as Fisher, Illinois, and I actually got Mark's contact information through another person I was networking with, and he said, maybe you should reach out to Mark because I was already working with J.R. Schultz at Parkland, and I was starting to realize that J.R. was asking me for some of our employees to come to his classes because he didn't have enough people enrolled. And I thought, well, providing you with people for your courses is not what we're necessarily trying to do. While it's a great opportunity, we're looking to try and get more people into those courses before they get to the workforce. So we've been working with Mark, and we're actually going to be sponsoring some students to go through the dual credits throughout high school. We don't know the numbers yet, and we haven't figured out all the details, but we are in the process of doing that. And I think it's very important that not just HL, but other local manufacturers show that they're invested from a time perspective to financially, that we are invested in the future of our students and giving them this opportunity to see this is what manufacturing looks like today. And with the dual credit course that we're going to be hopefully helping to provide financial resource for, we will also be giving an internship. So they will not only have the opportunity to go to school during, in between their junior year and their senior year, they will have the opportunity to come and intern for HL. And then ultimately, we hope to employ them once they're finished with high school and or continue their education. So I'm really thankful and grateful to have this opportunity to partner with Mark and Unit 4. I think they're doing some really amazing things. I speak specifically for manufacturing, but I do think that this dual course opportunity gives students a whole new world to explore that they may not be able to in their classroom. So I'm just really excited to be a part of it. So thank you.
It's so much fun for me to work in the community and find partnerships and find people that really want to help our kids and help our district. And this, Corinne, is one person that I've talked to, but many, many more have talked to me. And if we can bring our students who say, Mr. Shagnon, I'd like to pursue this industrial service technician dual credit program. We just had one young man graduate who went through that at Centennial. In his junior year, he took 7 hours of Parkland College credit in the fall, 7 hours in the spring. He then took 7 hours in the fall of his senior year and 7 hours in the spring of his senior year, and graduated with 28 college credits in the area of industrial service technician. If he goes on to get 9 more credit hours, he will be certified and can go to work full-time immediately with a firm here in town in manufacturing and make a pretty good paycheck. And that's what it's really all about. And he wants to do this. This is what he wants to do, and we are serving him and what he wants to do. We are listening. We are caring, as the teacher said on the tape. We are seeking to understand our students. As you said, Jamar, we are listening to them and finding out what they want to do and helping them to get there. Next, providing space for collaboration between our local trade unions and our national industrial technology instructors in building projects that will involve a number of our local trades. An example, the East Central Illinois Building and Construction Trades Council members forming a partnership with Champaign Union Forest Schools to assist our students in learning about the actual working on construction projects throughout the school year. My dream, and I tell you this is a dream because I've seen it, it can come true, is developing an area at both high schools, our new high school and our renovated Centennial, where our students can work with the trades hand in hand and to build, I don't know what it's going to be, but build something bigger than a bread box. I'm hoping it'll be a home, because I visited a school this summer in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and they built 2 3-bedroom homes in the same building. One was for Habitat for Humanity, one was for underserved people in the community. Those homes were then wheeled out of that school and taken across town, and a city of 180,000 people stop what they're doing to see what the College and Career Academy in Sioux Falls, South Dakota has done for their community. It's pretty awesome. But I'd like now to bring forward Matt Langendorf, who has worked with me a great deal in helping get this partnership off the ground and going. Matt?
Thank you for your time. I'll be as brief as I can and try to cover as much of it because there's a lot. Lori, the first thing I need to say is that Mark is right. In the time I've spent with him, the things that he says, the things he believes in are right. I am the business manager and the financial secretary of the Plumbers and Pipe Fitters Local 149. A quick breakdown of that is that I am the CEO, CFO of a not-for-profit organization that provides specialized trained workforce to dozens of businesses in town that install and support mechanical systems. As the building trades president, that mission moves on to hundreds of employers in this area. And one of Mark's biggest points was that we don't have enough skilled people to do the skilled jobs, and we have too many unskilled people to do too many skilled people to do the unskilled jobs. There's no excuse for that. All we have to do is train them. A term that I have almost no tolerance for is soft skills. It demeans the most important part of an employee. To be there on time, with a positive attitude, with extreme regularity, and to be committed to getting done what that team needs done that day is of the utmost importance to my employers. And I can't imagine that my employers are the only employers that feel that way. We cannot take young people who don't have initiative and don't have education and turn them into productive construction hands. We invest $55,000 in every apprentice, $11,000 a year for a 5-year apprenticeship, And I say invest because we're not spending that money. We're investing it. When they pay back into that education fund, that's where we get the return on our investment, and it keeps our wheel rolling. We have schools in East Central Illinois that are very, very good at preparing people for the construction trades and for the agriculture world, for the manufacturing world, and we really, really need Unit 4 to be one of them. I've spent a lot of time with Laura and Stephanie and Matt and Judy looking for ways to partner under the conditions that we are. And it's not that we can't do it. We can't do it really well. Okay? When some of these small schools send their kids to our career days, they know their way around a toolbox. They know how to put on and wear and use their safety equipment. They know to do that first. They don't have to be told. They pick up a grinder, and they have the grinder in one hand. They have the plug in the other. We need Unit 4 students that are interested in this to do this. I need the exposure to Unit 4 students so that if it grabs them and they want to work with their hands and learn by doing instead of by lecture or by reading, that they will seek us out. And then we can provide a career for them if they're willing to go get it, if they're willing to work on the roof on a 100-degree day, and if they're willing to work in the ditch when it's raining out and the mud's dripping down your back, if they have taken some initiative and shown us that they'll take the classes that Mark's trying to put together for them and excel in them, we can be a part of that. I can bring a professional welder into each welding booth with a student, and they can spend their time in that class with a professional welder, for example. We can do that at my facility, but shipping students from their school, Laura and I, that's our biggest hurdle. We're not finding a good way around that. It's much easier for me to bring the professionals to their facility. So I can't tell you how hard this administration works. You guys have an excellent team here, and I would also like to remind you that this campaign's got to be exhausting for you, but someday you're going to look back and know that you really did a great thing for the people of this community by doing this, by giving a career path to students that are not interested in a traditional four-year school. You're really going to have done a very good thing by this entire community. When I grew up at that age, I had David and Susan Zola to guide me as best they could. And she will tell you right up, that was not easy. That was not easy. But not everybody gets David and Susan Zola looking after them. I was just extraordinarily lucky. Let's get some mentors out there that make a living for their family and did not have the means or the interest to invest the hundreds of thousands of dollars that Mark talked about earlier. Thank you for your time.
You know, Matt, it reminds me of something that you've talked about. When I said I'm going to build that building and put those people in there, when I build the building, and I'll do it myself if I have to, I want to have a building big enough that we can put a house in there and build it, but I want all the trades, Matt, all 17. I want to have a booth, an 8-foot booth for every trade in that room with a banner above that booth. Because I want our kids to know that you all exist, and when you come in to work with our kids, you have your booth. And when our kids go out to work with you, they'll know where they're going. Okay? That's my promise. Also, I tell the kids every day, you got to work by the cash principle. You want to make some cash in your life, kids? Yes, Mr. Shagnon, I want to make cash. Well, K stands for, well, you're spelling it wrong. I know. If you want to make money, here's how you spell it. K stands for knowledge, S stands for skills. If you give me the knowledge, you get the knowledge and skills you need, and then walking with the attitude and habits that we have to have, you'll make a lot of cash in your lifetime. Because your knowledge and skills will get you a job, your attitude and habits will keep you a job. All right, I'm going to show you some pictures now. I had a chance to go to Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Awesome. This is what Matt, when I walked in there and I saw this welding and automotive area, and on each side of the room I saw 20 welding booths in a very clean, pristine environment, well put together, very safe. And above there I saw banners. Amani, I saw banners of partnerships, of people in that community who stepped up and said, we're going to help these students. We're going to fund these programs. This was welding. That's one welding booth right there on the far right. Joe Meyer, your teacher here at Champaign Schools at Central, he and another student took baling wire, scrap metal, duct tape, whatever they could find, and they built 8 welding booths at Central High School so they could have welding at Central this year. We had to go and hire ventilation. We had to put in electrical for them, but they did it all themselves. If they see this, they start to cry because this is the way it ought to be. Automotive. Joe would love to see this in his automotive shop. He has one lifter, and it's got a car on it. It's been there since I was in school. Okay? On the right side, you can paint the cars. On the left side, you're going to work on their engines. And I mean truly work on engines. And oh, look, Amani, there's another poster up there on the wall. Guess what? They're funding this program at $10,000 a year. Oh, I want to go into STEM programs. I want to go STEM. Oh, that's exciting. Manufacturing and robotics. I walked in this room and I said, where's my toys? I can't wait. This was their robotics area where they build robots. They test them in those little playground areas, and then they go off and have competitions across the United States of America. This is what it's all about. Okay? And then, oh, don't forget broadcast journalism. High school students are doing this. This is in their school. They have the control panels for those that don't want to be on stage and be like me and talk all the time. They want to have people behind the scenes that do all of the sound, all of the video. And by the time these kids get done, they're working in the community. And Amani, a TV station, partners with this and pays for this. These kids are on public TV. They do shows. They do the show for the whole school. And, you know, when we're in our schools right now, you hear some kid come on the microphone, it's going to be sunny and hot today. You know, this is where you're seeing it on an actual TV screen in every classroom. And these kids are doing the programming. And all those cameras and all that equipment is paid for by the Perkins funding from the federal government. Just a picture of what we could have. Okay? The Early College and the Career Academy is going to allow our kids to do some of these things, but we can also do them too in our schools to get our kids excited. When I take a child into the automotive program at Parkland, and I take them to Warden Martin, or I take them to Nissan and the new facilities they got, they're beautiful. And then I walk them into hey, now you can take a class right here at Central High School, and Joe Myers is standing there going, I cleaned it up the best I could, Mark. It's a time that we need to step up the plate and take care of our kids and give them what they need. Last but not least, near and dear to my heart, CARIS is the entrepreneurship program. A couple years ago, we started an entrepreneurship program in Champaign. We had 5 students from Central, 5 from Centennial, and we paired them up with entrepreneurs in the community. These students did not take this for a class. They did this after school. They met with these people on their own time, and they spent so much time doing this, and they all loved it. And they came up with their own plan, their own business plan for their own business with these partnerships. Amazing. This is what we need for the 21st century schools. Okay? Now, before I go to my last slide, and I know you guys are just excited as heck about that, I've got something I want to share with you. This is an article from our local Champaign News-Gazette, dated August 26, 2014. Here are some comments from students. Guess where this came from? They like the openness and natural light, especially in the soaring atrium, the latest technology in the nearly 20 labs for students. In the old building, I felt like I was in the 70s. No, that's when I was born. No. Just because of how old school it really was. This is a much more attractive and appealing. You want to be here. These are student comments. It's awesome. Having a new building helps us feel like we're a top school. Their hands-on favorite was the open project lab upstairs, which isn't even furnished yet, run by student committee. It will allow students to work on projects of their own for engineering competitions or just to make their dreams come true. We've never had this before. Companies who are looking for a recruit from here are asking, what hands-on experience do you have? Now we've got it. I think it's really important to have spaces like this where students can really live and breathe what they're learning in the classroom. Because in the industry that we are in, you have to immerse yourself in what you're learning. You have to really surround yourself by technology and find help from others. For the first time in recent memory, all of the department classes will be taught in the same building. It's amazing how this relates back to what we're doing in Champaign schools. We've got Centennial kids having to be bused to Central to take industrial technology and then bus them back. The community space in the new building will enhance collaboration among professors and between faculty and students. Collaboration, hear the word all the time. Must be pretty important. Here it is, the scope of the ECE building, the Electrical and Computer and Engineering building. Cost $95 million. Replaces a 1940s era Everett Lab. Sounds like Central. 230,000 square feet, almost double the size of Everett. Designed to net zero energy use, efficient cooling system, community space for students and faculty, state-of-the-art design labs open to undergraduates, 400-seat auditorium, used by 3,100 students on one day. Interesting. Thank you very much.
Any comments from that presentation? Karis.
Thank you for this presentation. This is something that is a long time coming. We most certainly need to touch on all the aspects that you had presented in today. Some of the things that really resonated with me was the soft skills and working with different individuals. I know when I come into the business world and work with students, a lot of them have to work with people that have different perspectives. You know, if they're a design background, or technology background, or business background, and like your family, you can't choose that when you go into a career. And so to understand their perspective and have that collaborative atmosphere is absolutely key to being successful in your careers and being on time, and all the things that you mentioned. Also, project-based learning, a huge aspect, and something that I don't think that's uniquely to the trades. I think that's just in every aspect that we should be teaching, right. Is that when I look at resumes, when I'm hiring into my company, you know, if I see 3.0 here, 3.0 there, or 4.0 here, 4.0 there, how do I choose? And a lot of it comes down to looking at our students and knowing if they have the theory but have applied it, is what makes my decision on hiring that individual. And so I know other employers too look at that same thing and look at how they could make that decision. A lot of that comes back to project-based learning and applying it. I also, some of the categories that you listed there too, touch on a few things that I think is currently in our innovation. That we should merge some of these two. So if you look at biotechnology, it's really biology and technology coming together, because a lot of these entities, you know, if they're looking for a designer for a mobile application, they're looking for a designer that knows a little bit of coding, you know, because they don't want to hire all these designers or hire all these developers. They're looking for someone that has a mix of those two. So the fact of the matter is bringing some of those aspects together, I saw a lot of synergies in between all the categories that you had there, which I loved. And then most importantly, entrepreneurship too, something that's dear to me. I think that we provide a lot of resources for our thinkers in the middle, for our gifted, and for our special needs, but we often forget the divergent thinkers that happen to be our entrepreneurs. And so for that, I think that this is a significant resource to have in our community, and directly aligns some of the initiatives that are going on and help growing our own businesses here and retaining our talent that comes to this beautiful community. And then lastly, about the agriculture. I'm from San Jose, California, but the one thing that I immediately recognized was that the soil was way more valuable than any of the buildings here. And Detroit's seeing that too, where you can plant a tomato seed in your backyard, forget to water it, and it'll still grow. You won't be able to stop it from growing. And so I think those are additional benefits for food pantries, for food deserts that we talk about too, and also for our healthy well-being for our kids to have that at lunch. So all the things that you touched on were fantastic, and I definitely hope to see that come to fruition here sooner than later.
Great, thank you, Karis.
Any other comments? Cedric.
You know, there's that phrase that it takes a village to raise a child. And I think that is so true. Just going back to everything that we talked about before with the community schools. You know, one thing about having schools of choice is that people are satisfied with the schools that they get to go to. But one thing that does create is a lot of division. I feel like bringing in community schools and bringing in programs like these create unity and create a sense of community, if you will. I was just so excited about your presentation. I really appreciate it, to tell you the truth. And you know, I get this question a lot, is what does a 21st century school look like? And that was it right there. I mean, it's something that you really can't put into words because it's just so many different things, and it's so hands-on, and so you have to be there. You have to be there. And I think one thing that I wanted to say was I think it's important to let students know about the programs and the partnerships that we have going on in these communities, so that after high school they can go to these resources and they'll be there for them. And also, you know, it's a cycle. You know, these students receive this support and receive this help, and then they come back around and they give it back to the community, which is something that's really great. And I jotted down so many things. It's kind of like learning a language, that you have to be around this, like you said, this technology all the time to really become a part of it, to really get used to it. And it really is just, you know, we want to have schools that not only students, but the community as a whole will be proud of. And, you know, because it really is that feeling of, okay, this is real. You know, after high school, it's not a breaking point, but rather continuation of my education and of learning. So, last thing, with the community thing, with the community schools, and with a reimagined Centennial and a new Central, the school's not just for some, but it's for everyone. It's for all. And I think that that's something that the 21st century really shows, is that it's not just for those who want the traditional 4-year education, but it's really for those who want to go into all different types of fields. And I think it'll really pay off for our community in the future.
Thank you, Cedric. I appreciate that very much. Coming from you, it means a lot. Thank you.
Liz.
I actually have a question, and this may be directed to Ms. Hillard, I believe. Okay, and I asked this question as the mother of a child who was born on August 10th, so he was one of the youngest children in his class. I worked at Kohl's for 7 years, and we have balers in the back of the store for our cardboard and our plastic. And because of all the OSHA regulations around those balers, our workman's comp carrier did not allow us to hire anyone in the store who was under the age of 17. They couldn't even bag stuff up front. They were simply not allowed to be part of our workforce. So I love the idea of offering internships to our kids, but are we going to run into any barriers like that you see at this point in time?
Especially coming from HR, that was one of the first things that we addressed when we even started this journey, because first thing that came to my mind was workers' compensation, and what if someone, you know, nicks their finger or what have you. And thankfully, with some of the loopholes when it comes to workers' compensation, and while OSHA is a big focus, they don't prevent us, per se, from hiring someone under the age of 18. It just has to be a release form that's signed by the parent. So it's typically workers' compensation based. And when we addressed it with our workers' comp, they said it's a release that the parents have to sign if they're under the age of 18. So
That's wonderful. I'm glad to hear that because
Well,
I
we
don't
were-
want that to be a barrier.
right, and we were worried about that at the beginning too. So we were glad to see that there was.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Jamar?
Well, Mr. Shagnon, I just have to say, I'm very excited to see ECP come, I won't say full circle, because I know you have a lot of left, and it still has further way to go, but I remember being either part of the first class or one of the first classes of the ECP program at Centennial. And back then, it was just, I think we just started with our Future Teachers of America Club, and people wanted to go into education careers.
Yep.
And back then, I wanted to be a dean, and so I got a chance to walk around with over at
Shocker.
over at Urbana High School. I got to walk at Central High School with Mr. Drake over there. And then I said I was going to be a teacher. I was going to say all these things. But when it came down to graduation and I talked with Mrs. Page, I decided that college really wasn't my thing. It's not something I was interested in doing. And I've said this before, there wasn't many options other than four-year college that I was being pushed towards. So floating around for a while until, getting on at the University of Illinois and being able to make some connections there and some relationship, I was able to get into the Department of Civil Engineering, but it was under the umbrella that you're going to go to school.
Yep.
And so you talked about that cash system. I had a great attitude and I had some healthy habits. And so I was able to go through that trades program, the industrial technology program at the university, or at Parkland. And I had J.R. Schultz as one of my instructors. And I do know those students that you're talking about. They were in every single class I had. They came from Monticello, is where they came from.
Yep.
And they could walk into the classroom and teach the entire class on day one. Whereas I didn't even know how to read the full ruler all the way. I knew inch, half inch, and quarter, because I wasn't exposed to that. I didn't have shop in Centennial. I didn't have any automotive at Centennial. But so they can come in day one. Those were my tutors, and I was in my 20s in doing that. And so going through those courses gave me something that I enjoyed doing in civil engineering with structural and material engineering and research. And so it has kept me going, taking more and more classes. So from a kid that says, I'm not going to college because nothing that requires college interests me, I found what interests me, and it kind of forced me to go in college. Like, it kind of like snuck me in the back door of college. And I think as a district, when we talk about the whole community school, when we talk about giving access and opportunity to all of our students, this is what it means, because the trades is how I make my living. The trades, and it's very respectable living. And being at the university, I get to really come in contact with all of the trades and realize these individuals, they weren't the bottom of their class. You go through a journey apprenticeship program. I had a 3.5-year apprenticeship. Your instructor doesn't accept B and C work. You're going to be an A student or you don't pass that class. And so they're very hard on you because they're very passionate about their work, and they're very passionate about everything, no matter who does it, no matter where they do it. They're very passionate, and so they only want to see the best. Now when I go places out of town, I look at some things on the wall, I was like, man, I don't know who did that. Or I look like, man, I wonder who did that, because that's just because you appreciate what this is. And so I'm really glad that we're addressing this issue. And I know when I ran, that was a big, huge thing that I talked about. We have to bring the trades back. We have to put all of our kids on a path to success. So if that's a traditional 4-year college, great. If it's a 2-year college, one of community college, great. If that's an apprenticeship, then great. But whatever that is, we have to offer that in college to get them to even know those jobs. When I was in high school, I had no clue that my job even existed ever in the world. I didn't know it when I was at the university for the first 2 years, that the job even existed. It was just being really at the right place at the right time and having the right relationships. Or as I still would have no clue that my job even existed. And so if we don't introduce our students at a young age, they won't be doing it because they don't want to do it. They'll be, who said that? You don't know what you don't know. Somebody said that today.
Okay.
And And that's very true. And so I'm glad that we're allowing our kids to know more before they venture off into the world.
As always, awesome job, Mark. Thank you very much. Teaching and learning update, Dr. Zola.
Good evening. I invited our entire teaching and learning team, and if they would like to come up to the podium, they can have an opportunity for you to put some names and faces together. We'll have a brief update this evening on the K-8 science curriculum. As you know, we've invested significant dollars over the years, basically develop our own hands-on curriculum that's very engaging to our students, and I think has had very positive feedback from staff over the years. And so our two directors and some of the coordinators will give you an update on some of their work. Welcome.
Good evening, members of the board. Excited about the opportunity just to share with you tonight a little bit about what's going on in teaching and learning with the focus of science. But I want to just say real quick, we kind of struggled with how to present this tonight because there's 7 of us on the team, and it's a short presentation. And although Mike and I are actually have the opportunity, I'm fortunate enough to present tonight, we really want to let you know this is a team effort. So I'm just going to introduce the rest of the team. So the elementary, part of the elementary teaching and learning team, we have Jill Floodstrom, Kristen Morris, Kate Farmage, Rod, myself, Andy Brown.
Good evening. At the secondary level, we have Leslie Kneisel and Aaron McKernan as coordinators for secondary teaching and learning, and my name is Michael.
All right, so it's really funny to hear all the presentations tonight because we were sitting over there going, they've kind of gone through this presentation because we heard words like partnership and hands-on and 21st century, collaboration, project-based, technology, critical thinking. That's a lot of what we're going to kind of talk about tonight. Our goal, though, overall is just to really talk about how we look at things through a teaching and learning lens. The primary focus for tonight just happens to be science. And our goal is to update you on how we're going to continue to support science education in Unit 4. So one of our first goals is obviously aligning the curriculum with instructional practices, and it starts with looking at 3 areas. So we're going to begin by just a little bit looking at the next generation science standards, which come from the K-12 framework for science education standards, as well as an alignment with the Common Core state standards. And of course, you have STEM, where we want to continue to foster the interdisciplinary and applied approach. And then last but not least, computational thinking, inquiry-based learning, and 21st century skills, which really talk about integrating problem solving, critical thinking, and combining that with technology. And then you have examples of schools like Kenwood, which are kind of pioneering that charge right now by actually having students doing some basic coding already at the elementary level. Along with that, this summer, Unit 4 participated in the Chancellor's Academy, where the theme was really about empowering students to take ownership of learning through student-led conversations and effective use of technology, which is really about communication, collaboration, creativity, and critical thinking. So looking at these 3 areas is the way we want to talk about propelling science education into the 21st century. Our beautiful, wonderful Science Center. If you've never had a chance to go visit the Science Center, I think it would be quite a treat to go see where it's housed over at the Curriculum Center. It's housed in the gym down there, and we have about 900 kits. And those 900 kits support about 34 of our units. And we want to stress here tonight is that this Science Center is going to receive the same level of support. We're going to have the same activities, the same kits, as well as the same field trips. None of that's being eliminated. And these kits provide, again, hands-on activities for the students, K-8, and in the areas of life science, environmental science, earth science, space science, chemistry, and physics. We want to continue to support the systems that are already there. We have a great schedule that allows the kids to go out and come back for use by all the buildings. But I think one of the most powerful things as we were kind of collaborating about this presentation, and Leslie pointed this out, was that when I think of looking at this through a social justice lens, you talk about equity to the curriculum and learning opportunities and access for all. Science Center is a great example of that, just because every student, no matter which third grade classroom they're in, across all of our buildings, is going to get access to the same materials, which I think is very powerful when we're talking about culturally responsive education and social justice. So I think that's key. It doesn't place the responsibility on the building to fund what's in the kits, but every student's going to get the same education. So we think that's extremely important. Last but not least, on our end, we want to maintain and develop, again, those partnerships that both Mark and Imani talked about within the community. Some of that's done through scheduling, and they're done through the field trips. The students take field trips that are tied to curriculum to Anita Purvis, Parkland College Planetarium, Meadowbrook Prairie, the Pollinatarium, Homer Lake, Kickapoo Park, Kickapoo State Park, Allerton Park, and Lake of the Woods, just to name a few. We want to continue to foster and build those relationships with some of these places like University of Illinois, Parkland College, Park District, as well as utilize our partnerships in the community with experts in the community, parents, staff, and local businesses. And so Mike's going to come up now and talk a little bit about how we want to align our science curriculum with the next generation.
Thank you, Jamie, and good evening. I think as these pictures show, and as you'll see more pictures throughout the presentation, you really see the district's commitment to hands-on learning and 900 science kits in over 30 of our science units. The kids are actively engaged. They're working collaboratively to investigate and solve some problems. And you really that strong commitment to hands-on learning. The second half of the presentation is going to focus on how we will use the next generation science standards, as Mr. Shagnon said, to help us prepare today's students for tomorrow's world. There are really, I want you to know that the next generation science standards were adopted by ISBE in February, so this is a recent adoption. And there are four main shifts. So as we're looking forward and adjusting some of the curriculum that we have and the kits that we have, these are four shifts that we're really looking at to guide our work as a teaching and learning team. The K-12 science education should reflect the interconnected nature of science as it is practiced and experienced in the real world. I liked what Mr. Shagnon also said there about the window into the adult world. And this is giving kids that opportunity in the area of science and STEM. Another focus with the next generation science standards is focus on deeper understanding of content as well as the application of that content. This is problem-based learning, project-based learning for kids, where they're able to have that depth of experience in content and over the breadth of coverage that we may see in previous standards. The science and engineering practices are integrated across all grades, K through 12. And this is an important point also. A lot of times those engineering practices are reserved for students at the high school level. And this is a strong commitment to starting that in kindergarten. The last part I want to stress is that the next generation science standards, it's also being referred to as the new Illinois Learning Standards for Science by ISBE very recently, are aligned with Common Core state standards for English, language arts, and math. So as we were struggling as a team to sort of look at this presentation for K-8 Science and the Science Center, the support of the Science Center, it's very easy just to go right to science. And I think that's what caused us, to really dig into this presentation and rethink it. Because each discipline has its set of practices and skills that the Common Core is giving us. And we were getting ready and just looking at those science practices for this particular presentation. But as a teaching and learning department, we want to get out of that sort of siloed thinking and that discipline-specific thinking and really look at a different model. And so this model really helps us to see that integrated and the interconnections between these three different areas. The integrated approaches and interconnectedness of the disciplines. All the skills from the previous slide are still present in this diagram, but they're helping our support the interconnectedness. I think I already said that. I know I did. But also just how there are opportunities for kids to transfer the skills from one discipline into another and see that what we're doing when we're solving problems isn't just an isolated activity, but is something that builds upon work that they may have already started in a math course or an English course or a science course. And we thought this visual gives you that connection. It also has a strong core on claims, evidence, and reasoning. It is not just about building a strong base of knowledge through content-rich texts. That is different in each discipline, but we want to build that literacy across the curriculum. It also is the incorporation of constructing viable arguments, critiquing the reasoning of others, and engaging students in argument from the evidence that they're reading in this content-rich text from various disciplines. We focus in on science specifically. This is a way to think beyond just that blue science area, but inviting kids into the inquiry cycle or the inquiry process from any variety of entrance points. We can start by obtaining and evaluating information and looking at what we're given through the text. We can start by with asking questions and defining problems. And so there are a variety of ways to enter into the curriculum and approach a particular problem if we're looking at project-based learning or we're looking at supporting problem-based learning. This whole focus is about engaging the kids with the curriculum and helping them to see that it's not always just starting from and using a scientific lens to engage in the content. As we move forward, we're really looking to continue to align our science curriculum with the next generation science standards using this STEM focus, the inquiry focus, the computational thinking that's really required for students to be successful and meet these standards. We want to continue to promote STEM, computational thinking, inquiry-based learning, and scientific literacy throughout the curriculum. What that means to us is reading, writing, and thinking like a scientist. As we work with other disciplines, it's reading, writing, and thinking like a mathematician, a historian, and really honoring the disciplinary literacies that are critical for success in our K-12 curriculum. The last part, as we've highlighted this evening, is collaborating with local and district experts to support professional development and expand our community partnerships. And that's the end of our presentation. We'll take some questions or comments.
Questions, comments?
Did we plan all these comments about community partnerships?
No, actually, it's amazing. That makes it
very impressed.
real, isn't it? We
It
didn't plan
is.
it this way.
It is. That's my only.
So one question for me is, as we've made the shift and we're doing things differently, how can we continue to help you guys do your job better as a board? Okay, good.
Don't give too much
I wouldn't expect that. We'd invite our teaching and learning coordinators to please, share if you have any input.
I think it's really just holding us responsible to look at all disciplines, not just science and learning through science, but through a teaching and learning lens. I mean, that's really the focus of our department, is to look at everything and really see how they're intertwined, as he said, continuously, and hold each other accountable to that, and to not get into focusing just on the discipline, but how are they all interconnected. And then again, getting our students ready for this wonderful facility that we hope is going to be here, that will be here. So I think that's a big focus. I think it's that kind of accountability we're looking for. It's how can you continue to push us to make sure we're looking at things through.
Karis.
I'm Leslie Kneisel, and these guys are used to my answers, which usually deal with money and support. It's giving the teachers the opportunity to work together, which have been provided in the past, and to continue that so that they can have the professional development to support their students in their learning.
So come back. So what you are asking for is more time for professional development? Is that what I heard you say?
Yes, I think the chance for the teachers to get together to, I don't really like the word unpack, but it really is to look deeper and have the time to look at what the standards are saying, not only the content of the standards, but also the practice component, and what's the impact on the classroom? And how are we then supporting the teachers with coaches and to make those instructional shifts that need to happen?
Okay, great. Good suggestion. Thank you. Karis?
Thank you for this presentation as well. It's fantastic. One of the big things that I saw too was the connection with Common Core and the next generation standards. Are there other metrics too that we're looking at as a district that we may look at to see the success of these programs as they're melding together? Like for me, in my opinion, and I'm definitely not an expert, one of the big things for technology has been you kind of have it in this graph, but having supporting evidence and when you're articulating or when you're putting together an argument. And so for me, I think SMARTS has a direct correlator with intellectual assertiveness. So how many kids are getting their ideas out seems to be something that is definitely needed in the business world too when they're working together in groups. And so I didn't know if there's other metrics like that we can see how we're moving this level up because we know these kids are performing very well, but for that, moving that needle up there is really pushing the envelope. So.
I would say that right now the commitment to claims, evidence, and reasoning throughout the curriculum is one of the big areas that we're going to be looking at as a teaching and learning department, and how we're asking kids to read rigorous text, and that text can take various forms. It's not always an article or a passage or something out of a textbook. Sometimes that's what they're gathering as researchers themselves, and what they're bringing in, and how they're using that to support their claims, how they're including their reasoning in their work. And that's going to come through in the activities that we continue to develop as a staff, and it will also be in our assessments that we look at and collect at the district level.
Excellent. Thank you.
I think it's also really about some of this measurement measured by building our students' capacity and technology, seeing them have hands-on opportunities to use it, and not just use it for critical thinking problems, not just for use, right?
Sure.
Actually think about using it as a tool for solving problems, and also as a tool for enhancing.
Some things are just intrinsically good. Yeah.
Jill Floodstrom. I'm one of the elementary teaching learning coordinators, and when you said what could you do to support, thinking about what Leslie said to add on is we across the year this year have several really well-known consultants coming in, and I just wanted to give you today for an example. We had Dr. Sunday Cummings working in Westview, and she did a close reading lesson using the Wonders reading materials. It's our new reading adoption. And having the students actually in the class collaboratively discuss, break down the text, do some of those kinds of things in the moment. And then afterwards, the teachers came back, what did you see? We're analyzing our teaching, what could happen tomorrow. So it'd be great to have some of you in those sessions. She's coming, Dr. Richardson is coming to work with our K-1 teachers. So the conversations not only in our classrooms with our students, but the conversations afterwards that the teachers are having, I think are a powerful way to assess what's going on.
Thank you very much. I also would like to include too something that you guys touched on too, which I definitely want to just recognize because I think they're amazing. And I know all educators in all schools are amazing and doing a fantastic job. But Kenwood specifically, because we've been looking at the standardized testing, the teachers there, you had brought up the interdisciplinary background, that comes with it. And I think that's definitely happening at Kenwood with our students and certainly with our teachers. And I commend them too, because not only are they getting the standards done in which they're required, but they're also finding time to have this extra component on top of that with the computational thinking, just because it is a good thing when we're talking about digital divide, when we're talking about computational thinking and technology. So I think that is a real biggie in my opinion, for some of the great things that are happening in our district and how that could contribute to this going forward.
Any other comments? Keep up the good work, the partnerships, the collaboration, all of that. Thank you all very much. Boy, it's late, Lauren. 2013-14 final volunteer numbers report.
All right. Good evening. I'm Lauren Smith. I'm your volunteer community outreach coordinator for the district. I am starting my 8th year as the community outreach coordinator. You will hear more about the community coming to our schools now, and I'd like to take a minute. We have several coordinators who are here tonight. I would like to have them stand, and I would like to introduce them. Christina Cooper is our newest coordinator. She is at Booker T. Washington and Edison Middle School. Jamie Reed is at Westview and Robeson. Ann Brodsky is at Stratton. Amy Lamb is at Barksdale and Kenwood, and Fred Massey is the coordinator at Jefferson. He has been here the longest. He is also starting his 8th year with the district. Several other of our coordinators had to leave. They are currently speaking to secondary education majors at the University of Illinois, so a few of them have already stepped out. What I wanted to review tonight was the volunteer numbers. 2013-14, we had 2,151 volunteers coming in on a regular basis. Those are people that are coming once a week or more and are helping out in the classroom. The coordinators that are here tonight are the ones primarily responsible for bringing all these people into the classroom. Those volunteers last year donated 36,981 hours of time to our school district. And according to the 2013 Illinois value of a volunteer hour, which the independent sector placed at $24.08, those volunteers have donated $890,502 to our school district over the past year. Volunteers do all sorts of different things in our schools. They work with students in classrooms. They are mentors working one-on-one with students. They help out at recess and lunch. They run several of our volunteer food pantries at the high schools. Many of our college volunteers are tutors, often helping at middle school and high school levels with specific subjects. They help beautify school grounds. They do filing, stuffing. We have volunteers that come into PE classes that help all of our kindergartners put on and take off their roller skates. So they do all sorts of different things. And fairly recently, too, just this past week, we've been asked to clear a volunteer who is giving prenatal education at Central High School. So we are getting a lot of those kind of requests and placing a lot of those volunteers in our high schools and middle schools as well. Where do the volunteers come from? About half of our volunteers are community and parents. The other half come from the University of Illinois and Parkland College. We work with various different groups at the University of Illinois, primarily the College of Education, both with all of the students that are in primary education. We speak to all of them at the beginning of the year, and we speak to many of the secondary education students. We work with student nurses, the Black Graduate Student Association speech and hearing classes, vis-a-vis sororities and fraternities, and that is both Greek and service fraternities and organizations that come in and do a lot of volunteering in our schools. We work with Spanish in the community, the Office of Volunteer Programs, Volunteer Illini, National Society for Black Engineers, and many, many more groups at the U of I that we work with. We also attend, they have volunteer fairs either once a year or once a semester, depending on the year. We always attend those and recruit volunteers at those as well. We also work with Parkland volunteers. We have many students that come from Parkland, primarily from their service learning classes. We work with the AmeriCorps Vista volunteer coordinator at Parkland, who helps us bring students into our classes to work with them. We've worked with the basketball team at Parkland in the past. They have come to several schools and several of the other sports teams.
We've worked with classes of dental hygienists that have come, various people there. One of the great things about Parkland volunteers is they are often from this area, have attended our schools, and are very eager to give back to students in our schools. And finally, we have our community volunteers. Generally, we have about probably about 60 to 70% of our community volunteers are parents who have children in the district. All of the volunteer coordinators give numerous volunteer orientations at their schools and do speak at many PTA meetings, at many open houses at schools to try to get parents to come in and become involved in the school district. We also work with many businesses in town. Facilities and Services has provided us, they currently have over 30 mentors in our school district working. Volition is another company who supplies a lot of mentors. We work with several other businesses to bring volunteers into the district. Finally, a very special piece of volunteering in our district is the one-to-one mentoring program. This is just the program stats from Unit 4. We are a cross-district program, so this program also runs in Urbana. 2013-14, we had 383 mentees. 41% of them were male. 66% were African American, 22% were white, 6% Latino, and 6% other races. We had 374 mentors. The difference in the numbers, some of our mentors take 2 and even 3 students to mentor. We always match same sex, so the male numbers are the same. Our mentor statistics, we have 12% African American mentors, 83% white, 3% Latino, and 2% other. Although our mentor demographics do reflect fairly closely the demographics of Champaign. Currently, as of 2012, 15% of Champaign was African American, 6% was Latino. It is not reflecting the students that have mentors. So we are constantly looking to recruit more African American mentors, more Latino mentors, and more male mentors. We are also a little bit low on male mentors. So we work to do that. This past Saturday I was at the Ministerial Alliance meeting and spoke with them, and they are trying to get the word out in their churches, and I will speak at one of their meetings later in the year too, working with, or hoping to connect with a professor at the U of I who is in extension outreach, and he serves the Latino community to connect with more mentors in that community as well. We do give our graduating seniors who have been in the program for at least 3 years, they are each awarded $5,000 in scholarships when they graduate, and these are funded by the One-to-One Scholarship Foundation Board. The money goes directly to whatever college they are attending, and it's paid out over a semester. Right now it's over 4 semesters, so it will be raising to 6 semesters at the end of this year. If you look at the numbers, mentors, this is in all programs. One-to-one mentoring is Unit 4's mentor program. We also support Talks mentoring and Big Brothers Big Sisters. Those programs are run by outside agencies. They recruit their own mentors and do their own training, but we do support their mentors once they come into the school district. We have steadily grown this program. In 2006-07, we had about 190 mentors. This year we have about 430 total mentors in the district, and we continue to keep growing. We have many requests from kids who want mentors that we have not been able to fill. There are the volunteer numbers. Going back to 2006, the green bar shows you the number of volunteers. The orange bar shows you the hours they have contributed to the school district, and that is in tens. So in 2006, 2007, there were about 1,200 volunteers. They contributed close to 10,000 hours to our school district. There has been, the numbers have steadily risen. Now last year our volunteer numbers went down slightly, but if you look at the number of hours they put in, even though there were fewer volunteers, they put in more hours. The average volunteer currently puts in about 17 hours a year at our school district, and these are ones that are coming on a regular basis. some reasons for the fluctuation in volunteer numbers. I think all of you have a breakdown of the volunteer numbers at individual schools, and there is some fluctuation from year to year with the different schools. A lot of that depends on different programs that they are not continuing to run, different campus organizations that have had leadership changes and are no longer available to come to that particular school. Also, when we start new coordinators, it takes several years to build up these connections in our community. So when we start a new coordinator, you'll often see a big drop in the volunteer numbers and hours the first year or two that they are there. One other reason too is when we used to go and talk to U of I education majors, Urbana and Champaign schools were the only people there talking to them about volunteering. That is no longer the case. We also have representatives from all the private schools there, and we have representatives from many different volunteer organizations on campus that also are looking for volunteers. So our pool has been cut slightly too, so that has caused some of the slight downward trend in numbers. The mentor volunteer coordinators that are here tonight, our elementary coordinators work 10 hours at each elementary school. Most of them are at 2 elementary schools, making them half-time. Our middle and high school coordinators spend 20 hours at each middle school and high school. Salaries for this program for all the coordinators and myself cost the district about $245,000 a year. And as of last year, just last year, we provided $890,000 in volunteer time to the district. So once again, I want to thank the coordinators that are still here. They are the ones who are really putting the community in public school. And with the presentation earlier, they know their schools really well. They know things that are needed. It might be a possibility to look into increasing hours for them to reach out to more community organizations as well. So thank you. Any questions about anything with volunteering or mentoring? Jamar.
Just 2 questions. First question is, other than mentoring, what else would volunteers do in the schools?
They often go into classes. All of the elementary education majors are required to put in 50 hours in a classroom before they begin student teaching. So oftentimes they want to go directly into elementary classrooms. A lot of the secondary volunteers want to go into specialized classes. They're helping in our science classes, in our math classes. People from engineering classes are going to STEM labs, things like that. So various things like that. Some of them can help with, at Stratton, a lot of the volunteers help with the micro-society, working with the groups that are doing micro-society, things like that. So they do all different things. Some volunteers want to come in and help in the lunchroom. So.
And then the next question, so obviously we have a need for more mentors. What are the qualifications for a mentor? And then how would a person go about getting involved?
To be a mentor, you have to be willing to listen to children, to be committed. We do expect mentors to show up 1 hour a week, every week during the school year. It is a long-term commitment. We are asking them to commit for 1 year. With the knowledge, we'll ask them to reconnect to that same student, to recommit to them each of the following years, hopefully following them through high school graduation. So it is a long-term commitment. Mentors go to a 2-hour training, and we have one coming up on September 16th. We have 2 more coming up in October. They do go through a fingerprint background check, and then they have a brief interview at the school with the mentor volunteer coordinator. So, and I would be happy to talk to people that were interested in doing that. They can contact me and sign up for registration for a training coming up.
What keeps you out of it? Because I know a lot of individuals who actually want to get into schools and actually help in mentoring, but they do have criminal history. Is that something that keeps you from being a mentor?
That depends, and I always encourage people to go ahead and do the background check. It definitely depends on what the criminal history is. So.
Curious.
I have a question, and it may be directed to the administration too. What's the percentage of our vendors that work with us that donate back to our school? Do we know that by hand?
No. We can look at that.
Yeah, I would definitely like to see that number, because I know for some of the RFPs too, I think if there's opportunity for them to work with us as mentors, I think it would send the message that, the people that work with us need to know us before they work with us, but 2, that there's some very good points that you just raised here with mentors being involved into our schools, especially in the specialized area where a lot of our vendors from construction, I think, could show the relevance of some of the math or calculus that they may take if they're doing architecture and how that all plays. And that kind of is around the whole thing that we've been discussing tonight with those partnerships and collaborations. But I think that would be really interesting for us to look at to see if there's a way to facilitate that conversation and partnership further.
I have a question regarding the scholarships. Okay. I like the idea of extending the scholarship out for 6 semesters because it provides a little catch for the students. But we have students who go to Parkland for 1 or 2 year programs. So are they allowed the full 5,000 or are they still held to the 6 semesters?
They are right now. We are in the process. The one-to-one scholarship board is actually meeting tomorrow morning. We are in the process of changing that. So it will be 6 semesters. So if you went just for 4 semesters, you would get $500 the first semester, and the second semester, $1,000 your third and fourth. So you would get $3,000. And then we would really like to encourage kids to go on and go to 4 years. So the 6th and 7th semester would be the final amount then.
Okay, and I think that's well-meaning, but it kind of creates a tension with some of the things that we've been discussing here. Not all of our kids want to go to 4-year schools. So are they going to allow the option for kids to access that funding in the future, or is it simply if you don't use it after high school, it's gone?
You have 2 years from when you graduate high school to use that money. If you haven't started a degree program within 2 years, the money's gone.
Okay.
And then you have, I believe it's 5 years to use the entire
Finish.
amount.
Yeah.
So if you go for 2 years and take a year off and come back, that money is still there for you.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Yes, it is available for
Fine.
trade schools. We've had several people use it for the beauty trade school, use the money there.
Yeah, well,
So-
when I say Parkland, I mean,
Yeah.
in my mind, that includes some other schools, and it doesn't have to be schools
Right.
here in Champaign-Urbana, you
Right.
know? If they want to go to Chicago or Atlanta or New York or San Jose, California for their training, I would hope that.
Yeah, it is wherever they go, and our treasurer sends out that money to whatever, he worked with
Yeah.
the financial offices of all the schools that these
Oh,
kids
yeah.
are going to and sends that money directly to the financial office.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Lauren, thank you for your work. Ladies, sir, thank you so much. It takes a lot of energy to go out and to meet and to ask, but it's so important for our kids. So thank you very much. Next item. Memorandum of Understanding. Tommy Lockman.
Yeah, so as the board knows, am I on?
You're on.
As the board knows, during the last school year, a committee was formed to review the school resource officer partnership with the Champaign Police Department and the standard operating procedures that are associated with that. Additional discussion surrounding the program grew out of that committee's work, and it was determined that certain aspects of the program would be formalized into a memorandum of understanding that is included with your board packet. That MOU has been signed by both the district and the Champaign Police Department at this point, and outlines several of the steps that will be implemented for the current school year relative to the program, and I'll just touch on a couple of them that are new and kind of run the range of what the program is seeking to accomplish. One is student focus groups. The district will be conducting focus groups with sets of district students each semester to assess exactly what it is how students are feeling about the program, and identify strengths and potential weaknesses of that program. Parent surveys were made available at building registrations and have been collected. I understand that that information is being gathered and tabulated and will be provided to the board in an update later this semester. Student assemblies have been put together. The district worked with Champaign Police to finalize a presentation that I know some and perhaps all of the schools have had at this point, the middle and high school campuses, to discuss student rights and responsibilities relative to school resource officers and interactions with police. And then number 8 is student education, which deals with monthly classroom presentations that school resource officers will be conducting in each building based on a series of topics that would be integrated into the curriculum of the departments with which those school resource officers would be working. Just wanted to present this to the board. It was the result of, again, of ongoing discussions that were had between the board, the committee, and district administration throughout the past year, and just to, again, reaffirm that this had been done and that this will be monitored moving forward.
Tommy, thank you. I just want to say before I open it up for questions, just a shout out to Chief Cobb for being open to adding this to our contract. I think that was really important for the board, for us moving forward. And then on number 3, when we are talking to students at each school, could we add our ambassador to that group? Because I think it's that would be a good role for them to hear from their peers. And then on number 5, the reciprocal information sharing agreement. I'd like to see that, or I think if that could come to the board once that is completed.
Yeah, so we'll be meeting the DEA committee, the Discipline Equity Advisory Committee is meeting this Thursday with the reciprocal agreement being the major agenda topic to go through and discuss exactly how that will look so that we can make sure we're being consistent with the information that we are providing to the police department and vice versa.
Right. Thank you, Tommy.
Mm-hmm.
Karis.
Yep, I also wanted to thank the police department for going forward and signing this too, and the administration for working hard to get this in place. I think this is valuable to lay this foundation and evaluate the program as we go forward, and also to keep in the hearts and minds of the community too, as we've discussed, challenges that we will face together as a community. One thing that I wanted to focus on was number 6 on the record keeping for the bi-weekly. Will that information be coming to the board as well, or will that only be shared with principals or supervisor? Rather?
I know. It will be documented. So that's information that will be housed at the buildings, and
the board's requesting it, we certainly
is
can.
something that
It's at the building level.
Okay.
But sure. You can
Is
certainly
something we can-
summarize that maybe on a quarterly basis.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you. That's all. Thanks.
Any other comments? Okay. Well, I have comments. Again, it's been said, but I too just want to thank the willingness and openness of the police department and their leadership with Chief Cobb and the deputy chiefs and lieutenants who have been a part of this. This has been, the SRO program has been a huge, it's been a very controversial issue since its inception. And there's part of the community that wants this absolutely going, and no matter what it looks like, they want it gone. There's part of the community that no matter what it looks like, they want it to be here. And then there's the rest of the community that they want something that really works for all of our students and staffs inside of our buildings. And by this being a program that's just never been evaluated, having that committee really gave us a chance to see what are we really offering, what do we actually have in our buildings, what is it actually doing, and putting some of these policies in place gives us an opportunity to start to really monitor what's going on inside of our building, something that we really haven't been able to do. It's been a program that's pretty much has been self-monitored throughout its inception and reporting to itself what it's doing. And so as a board and as a district, I think it's good that we can actually see hard copies of what we're offering our students, and how we're spending the money. Again, we've talked about this before. It is a large sum of money. But if after we see the actual reports, it works, well, then let's continue to do it. Let's continue to support it. Let's continue to improve on it. If it doesn't work, then we need to find other ways to spend those funds. And so I thank everybody at the district level who's taking the time and energy to put this work in to get to this level. It wasn't an easy conversation to have. It wasn't easy decisions to make. But I think it is definitely a happy medium from where we were to where we currently are today. And it would have never happened without having some conversation a year ago, or requesting a conversation a year ago, for us to really get to this point. And so I'm interested to see how this all pans out this year, that we're actually monitoring what these numbers actually look like. I mean, we've had the conversations of what the arrests look like. I know that was a huge thing in the community, and arrests have gone down. Arrests have are lower than excuse me, than they've ever been in the district. But again, there were still some things that were happening beyond the arrests within inside of the buildings that brought concerns. And so having the student focus groups, having the parent surveys, is going to be huge, and to actually see what's going on a day-to-day basis beyond the arrests. The parent survey, I think when you kept talking, I think I have my answer, but is that still accessible, or is that done and no other parent can access it?
Yeah, it was a paper survey that was handed out at building registrations.
Okay,
and
so is that the only time we offer that? Do we offer it every year?
We'll offer it again in the year, yeah.
So-
At registration, we have parents come in, yeah.
So at registration is typically where the,
Right.
okay.
That's,
Okay.
yeah, it's our first time doing it, so.
Okay, I didn't know if it was something that was on an ongoing basis, a quarter, semester, but, okay, and then and the focus groups with the students, is that a one-time deal too as well, or?
I thought we were doing them quarterly.
Quarterly.
Yeah.
All right.
Each, I believe it's each semester.
Each semester.
Is what's included here, and then certainly these are steps for the 14-15 school year, and you know, I think Jamar, as you mentioned, you know, as we continue to monitor, the program can determine, you know, ultimately through continued discussions how we can proceed with some of these steps in varying degrees moving forward.
I do have one last question, sorry. Will this be on the website too for the community to view as well?
I think it is.
Okay.
I don't know if it is currently or not. If not,
We could certainly put it along with the
It's on-
standard operating procedure document that was approved by the board. I think both documents should go up.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other comments, questions? Okay, on to action agenda. Bills and Treasurers Report, Mr. Foster.
It's good. Go ahead. That's okay. If you want to just borrow Laura's. Actually, there's only like 5 people here, so go ahead.
I got 3 now.
Okay.
We're good.
Sorry.
Fresco, between all the funds.
I'm tired.
We spent for August, the accounts payable, checks by fund, $5,935,290.49. That's where we expect to be at this point for August. Any questions?
I need a motion.
I move. Second.
Bamanek, Brown, questions, comments? Tammy, call the roll.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Passes 7-0. Board committee assignments, Dr. Wiegand.
Yes, I'd like to go over with the board the assignments for the 14-15 school year. So as I go through, I'd like to just verify if the board members are going to continue in this role, or if there is a new person to take that position. And then once we have that slate, then seek approval for it.
So
Okay?
we can fight over.
Sure.
We
Yeah,
can fight
fine.
over,
Mhm.
okay.
All right, CFT areas of consultation. I have Lori and Karis.
We want to fight for that? Just kidding.
Doesn't look like it. CESP areas of consultation, Jamar and John. Controlled choice, Lori and Ileana. The curriculum steering committee, Karis. Discipline advisory equity is Jamar and Ileana. The Triple E, Education, Equity, and Excellence Committee, Jamar and Ileana. The Facilities Committee, when we do have that up and running, Christine and Lynn. The Finance Committee, Jamar. The IASB Governing Board Rep is Mr. Bambenek. Promises made, promises kept, Lynn and Karis. Review of contracts, which is as needed, and that's a new committee. For membership, I would like to have 2 board members if possible.
Could you explain a little more about what that committee would do, please?
Sure. So, of course, there are a number of different contracts that are brought forward to the board, and as a way to just be more efficient and making sure things are running smoothly, having 2 board members working with our business and legal department to review those contracts, make sure there's any questions or concerns coming up before we get to a board meeting.
When you say review of contracts, would this include like financial questions, or would it include minority and female business involvement?
Yes.
Anything.
Anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I might be willing to do that.
I see a lot of interest here. Jamar, John.
Flip a coin.
Arm wrestle you for it. Loser wins.
Loser
wins.
All right, you guys fight amongst yourself. You want to come back to that?
Okay. Strategic planning as needed would be Christine and Lynn.
All right.
I think that's it. So going back to review of contracts.
All right,
And
here we
that'd
go.
be, let me just say, the commitment would be weekly, to make sure that we stay on top of things.
Okay.
It probably should be Jamar, because pretty shortly I'm going to be hard to reach for a little while.
When
It'll
you
be a
s-
standing committee meeting. That would be weekly.
When you say weekly, would we be meeting here, like at
Yes.
Millen every week?
Yes, once a week.
Okay. It would depend on the day for me.
We can certainly coordinate that with the people who are on the committee. I'm
Right.
just letting you know the
I'm
time
going to volunteer
commitment.
to do it, and you guys figure out. So if you guys figure out if you're interested or not. So based on the time commitment.
Yeah, and
Because that's
if
important.
there's a secondary, if that's a burden, I would volunteer.
Okay, so you 2 guys figure out what you want to do,
We'll do it.
and then Karis and I will kick in.
We'll coordinate time.
And we might have alternates.
Okay.
That might be a good way to do
So
it.
it's Lori and
that too
Jamar,
confused?
and then alternates with Lynn and Karis. Is that?
That might be a good way to do
Okay.
it.
Okay.
No, I got it.
All right. Thank you.
All right, and so I guess I will ask for a motion.
So moved. Second.
Bambenek, Brown, Tammy.
Yeah.
Yes.
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 Passes 7-0. Approval of Robeson change order number 9.
Arlene Vespa has authority to approve change orders of $25,000. At this time, it is necessary for the Board of Education to approve the following change orders processed through July 2014. Please note that the contingency amount for this project is $142,200. After this proposed amount here of $17,544.58, that would leave us with $14,859.16 left in the contingency fund for the Robeson project. One other thing that I want to point out is that we're starting to monitor our MFP, or our MAFB up, Minority Female Business Enterprise update here at the bottom. You'll see that percentages at the time of the bid for the Robeson project, based on the total size of the project, we were looking at an MBE goal of ranging between $109,225 to $218,450 range, and female business enterprise goal of between 3 and 10%, which is between $65,535 and $218,450 range. That was at the time of the bid. Percentages anticipated at the project start. This was given by John Code, the construction team at the time. We had 6% planned for minority business enterprises and 4% planned for female business enterprises. At this time now, the change order, the total we have is female participation is still 4%. The minority business participation on this project was not able to be met at that 6% target. We had a conflict in scheduling, is what I understand, between John Co. and the company, which was going to be providing door hardware hardware, metal frames, things of that nature with the scope and schedule. They could not create on time, and the company actually ended up relocating to Texas. So the way we understood this communication was that they had a hard time agreeing on the schedule, and the company was on its way moving to Texas at that time. So this is just something I want to bring forward, that this is something you'll be noticing at the bottom of each change order moving forward, to be able to make sure that we're monitoring progress and forward the district's commitment to ensuring that we have an appropriate amount of business going towards MBEs as well as FBEs. Any questions?
I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Bambanek, Shalafu. Let me see if I understand what you just said.
It's a lot, I know.
No, I want to talk about the math and
Sure.
stuff. So we have $14,000 remaining.
And
And in the contingency
Yes,
fund, right? So I guess my first question, Arlene, is are we anticipating any more? Are we almost done? So that's my first question. Anything in the pipeline that you're aware of?
Well, as you know, the project is complete because we finished phase 2 this summer. And we are working through, at this point, finishing up some of the punch list items. We will have a couple more change orders, and we will be over the 14,000. In speaking with Kevin, we are anticipating somewhere in the range of 30,000.
Over?
Yes. I don't have a final number. Some of those, the reason I don't have a final number is because some of them, the changes were performed on a time and material not to exceed basis.
Right.
So we need to wait for all those time tickets to come in and be analyzed before we will have those final numbers.
But some of those, I mean, if we know what those numbers are, then we have a potential.
Right, and so ballpark is around 30
Okay.
is what we're estimating. Some of that was in relation to the snow days that we had.
Right.
Because we had a late start and we were not able to extend the schedule to finish, so we had to make that up in some manner, and that was done by overtime. We would not have finished if we had not done that.
I remember that. I mean, people are
Mhm.
shoveling snow off the roof, or, I mean, am I remembering the rubber roof, and we had to lay that down in a day, or something. Just had that small window.
We had a lot of challenges at the start of the summer to meet the schedule, and the only way to do it was through overtime. So that was done on a time and material, not to exceed numbers, and fortunately we were able to meet the schedule and reopen in time, but it's just the cost of unforeseen conditions predominantly.
Okay. And then the other part, and maybe, I don't know who answers this, but who moved?
The name Jones and Jones, I believe, was the name of the company.
So,
Is that
so is
correct?
Jones and Jones a minority?
Jones and Jones was the minority company that was identified at the start. Their scope of work was scheduled to be doors, door hardware, and door frames. And they did appear initially in the documentation that Johnco had submitted when they submitted their bid, in addition to the female business enterprise companies. And we noticed at the project start that all of a sudden they were dropped from the schedule of values, and which is submitted with the pay applications. So at that time, we asked, wait a minute, you know, where is this company? Why aren't they listed any longer? And at that time, Johnco told us that due to scheduling, they were not able to meet the schedule, and so they were not able to sign an agreement with them. They also told me that at that time that they were relocating out of state to Texas.
So was there any effort made to find another minority firm? Or what happened?
The scope of work was done by the security door and hardware.
So the answer is no?
Correct.
Okay. All right, that's all I have. Yeah. Thank you for keeping this. I know, so I say this publicly, I mean, we're just adding this on, and we really are hitting hard that we meet our minority and our female business goals, so.
I'd like to point out, if I could, that at the bottom of this, in this section, I did want you to recognize that this particular project was bid before we adopted the current board policy for the MBE FBE. So that is why when we started out, we were listing a goal that was a range value at the time, because we weren't sure how well we could do at the time. And as you know, we have been progressing with what we're doing with the policy, and you'll see on, I think, Kenwood, hopefully a difference in how this goes. So you'll see this, and I believe Westview, when we have our report on Westview, we didn't even have percentages listed. We did have minority participation, and but we didn't have percentage outlined as a goal, a specific number. But we did get participation on that.
I do have a question. Is, change order 9, when did that come through, like time frame from the start of the project? Was that late in the game, or?
Do you mean some of the items included, or?
No, because the reason why I asked, because you said at the beginning of the, I guess at the beginning of the job, you noticed when they started that Jones and Jones was not there. But then
that was a year ago,
okay.
when we
But-
started phase 1 work.
Right, and then this says percentages after change order number 9, minority participation went to 0%. So was that a year ago as well, at the same time?
Yes, it's just that we haven't formally presented the update to the board on the change orders until now. So had we been doing it from the start, you would have seen at the start of the project that had gone to 0.
So I need a motion, actually, we need to take a vote, right?
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Passes 7-0. Arlene, thank you very much for the answers, and Matt, thank you. Approval of MTD contract, Matt Foster.
The school district has provided transportation for high school students via an agreement with Champaign-Urbana MTD since 1977, and started transporting middle school students in 2004. The service has been a major assistance getting students both to and from school at a reasonable cost to the district. Financial implications for the proposed contract for this year, for the 14-15 school year, would be $318,825, a 1% increase over the previous year's contract. Administration recommends that the Board of Education approve and sign the attached transportation agreement between the Champaign-Urbana Mass Transit District and the Champaign Unit 4 School District for 2014-2015.
Need a motion?
So move.
Second.
Bambanek, Stuckey, questions, comments? John?
I'll generally keep this quick because we're already 3 hours into this. I noticed there was some difficulty in getting ridership statistics, and I don't know if they're consistently kept or not, but the contract suggests that we will have that data. We're already into the start of the year, so the first ask is, going forward, can we get that relatively consistently for the academic year by the time this comes up again? Is that a possible?
Yeah, we'll just ask for it, and I'm sure they'll provide it for us.
Well,
We'd like to
if
have
Carl
the-
is here, Carl, you've stayed so late.
3 hours.
Yeah, you could, so if we can get an answer tonight, is that all right?
Sure.
I don't want to not acknowledge you since you've been here for so long. Thank you.
Rob Patton.
And Rob.
Yes, we will provide the numbers. What do you want them on a weekly basis, monthly
I was thinking
basis?
daily. We could do monthly.
I don't know if we necessarily need to see it every month, but, I mean, the last time this contract was based on 1977 and ridership statistics then carried forward by inflation now. I don't know if that's still a valid model. It may
Maybe
it may not
semester
be.
even.
Yeah.
So-
Semester?
But something, I mean, this contract should be talked about in April. I think it's reviewed,
Yes.
so that's the second ask, that we talk about this in April and not in September.
Yes.
but that we have that number so that we know what is valid and what is not.
Yes.
We can provide the first semester's numbers before we go into the second semester. How's that?
That sounds great. That'd be great. Any other questions, comments? Yes, John.
Between the two sets of responses we got, it showed a $35 or a $40 an hour cost for, say, field trips or anything above the contract amount. Why is that different than the $100 amount that Brian Deal used in his BCA study?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, we don't do field trips, so that you've mentioned that a couple of times, and there are no field trips. The dollar amount is $35. The $40 one was, I think, just a misunderstanding in a conversation that Matt and I had. The difference between the $100 and the $35 is that the $100 is a fully allocated cost, and the $35 is a local direct cost.
Define what you mean by that. I
Fully
suspect I know the
fully
answer.
allocated means all the costs associated with providing an hour of service are loaded into that $100. So that's not only salary and benefits of the driver, and it's not only vehicle cost, but it's also overhead and lights and everything. It's fully loaded. It's everything.
So the
local
100
cost.
is, the 100 is pre-state reimbursement?
100 is just cost.
No,
That's a fully loaded cost. Then when we subtract the state reimbursement, then we have a local share that has to be paid for, and that's what you're billed for.
Okay. Additional term says 34 school trips. In this I said field trips mistakenly, but this contract says 34 school trips. Am I mistaken on the purpose of what that is for?
Well, field trips to me are, a class going to a museum or something like that, and we don't do that. And we're not allowed to do that. Now, a class can get on to a regular route to use it for something, to go to a museum or an event or something, but we can't provide a specific trip for that type of activity.
Right.
That's
would be
a
against
charter.
Then I guess what is MTD
That's
operated total?
that's what I'm interpreting what you meant by field trip.
And I just read this
School
and I
trip,
assumed.
school trip is we transport the band from Central to Centennial, and those are the trips that are above and beyond what the school trips are.
Okay. And the last ask is, the next time this comes up in April, is it possible to get an itemized breakdown of what goes into that 318? Well, it'll be a different amount.
It
in
won't be
April.
318,
Right,
but maybe not. I don't know if I'll be able to do that or not. I'm not going to make a promise to you that I'm not going to be able to keep.
Fair enough.
I'm sorry. So let me just see if I understand what you just said, Carl. So you're going to charge us $318 and $825, and yet when we asked for an itemized breakdown, you're telling us we can't get that?
At this time, yes.
What does it take for business to understand what its true costs are?
Well, we've gone over this through the earlier questioning. This is based on a
No, I
historical.
need to hear it.
Okay. This is based on a historical accounting of the trips that were taken in the late 70s. And Unit 4 and the Transit District agreed at the time that it was too much effort to continue counting the tickets that we were collecting. Both entities decided that together, and both entities decided together that we'll just use what we've done up until this time as a baseline, and then we'll just move forward from this point. And that's what we've done. This Unit 4 has never asked for this before.
We're asking. So it does not make sense to me, and some of my board members, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you are going to hold us to a 1970s agreement.
exactly like you're holding me to a 70s agreement.
How so?
Well, both entities agreed to it together. So I think hold on. I think
Sure.
that you can probably expect to see an itemized breakdown, maybe not by April, probably by the following year. And I think that I think that the costs, once we do that, once we break open our route structure and pull everything apart and lay everything out on the table, I think the costs are probably going to increase. But I understand that you're asking for that, and I think that that's reasonable, and we'll make an effort to do that. I cannot promise that I will do it, that I will be able to have that done by this April.
Okay.
So then my question is, so then I have a question. What is the 1970s agreement that started in 1970 and you continue forward? Because the prices has risen. So is it, we're going to start at wherever we're at in 1970s and go 1% every year from that? Is that the agreement? Or how do you calculate the increase?
I think it's roughly that. I haven't gone back. Yeah, just to point out something. This is the first contract that I've brought to you. So I haven't been involved with previous contracts.
Nor have we been involved with the 1970s contract.
Yeah, I get it, Lori. I wasn't either. I wasn't even in high school yet at the time. So I understand. And we'll try to be responsive to you, but I don't want to make a promise to you that
And
I
I
can't
appreciate
keep.
that, thank you.
So yes, they created a baseline, and then they said, both entities together said, okay, from this point forward, we'll just look at what a reasonable increase would be on an annual basis based on wage increases, fuel cost increases, et cetera.
I think what we're saying is that while that agreement makes sense for a certain time scale, 40 years is probably too long. So seeing what the ridership pattern looks like this year may inform how things are built out further years. Does it need to be done every single year from here on out? No. But on the flip side, there's lots of technology that we have now that we don't have in 1977 that should make counting ridership and those kind of patterns easier, I would think. So while I don't think any of us are asking that we need an in-depth analysis every single year here on out.
We're just
but-
asking for justification
Yeah,
of our dollars, just like when you guys are doing your business.
I
You need to
understand.
understand what you're paying for.
I understand.
And while you may have it listed out, there's no cost associated with that, so that we can put a value to that delivery. I think it's simple, but obviously it's not. So,
Well, if we don't like it, we ask for it to be changed. I think we need to just be civil and discuss this openly and ask for a change. But let's just be all fair to one another while we're discussing this publicly, in what we're asking for.
And I agree with you. I mean, because I'm not against MTD. I mean, I wrote the MTD coming to school at Centennial. I think where we're at, just like we broke down our SRO contract. What does those costs look like? What does that look like for us? What are we paying for it? I don't know that it's unreasonable to ask what that looks like.
I agree. I don't think it's unreasonable either.
And so that's why I'm asking, because I mean, I don't know what the 1970s, what does that look? Not saying that, hey, it may be the best thing for us. It may not be, but so far no one in this room knows because there isn't an itemized. And so that's really all that we're asking. What does that look like? And so, I mean, it's hard to hear that it's going to take a year or over a year for us to know what that looks like. Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, you would think.
And so it's not to down you or put you on the spot, but it's the question that anybody that's spending money, I want to know in any business, what are we looking at? And so, to say I don't know if I can get that to you. It's hard to hear from this end with that answer. It's very hard to hear that be the answer and period. I'm done. But if that's your answer, then that's your answer. And so I guess we just continue to move forward accordingly.
Okay, I hear what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. I think you're reasonable in asking for the information, and I will endeavor to do that. But I'm not going to guarantee it.
Okay.
Any other comments, questions? All right, Tammy, call the roll, please. Thank you, Carl.
Present.
What'd you say?
Present.
Yes.
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 No.
Yes. Okay, I have a 1 present, 1 no, and 5 yes. So it passes for next year. Carl, thank you very much. Appreciate you hanging out. And Rob, thank you. All right, consent agenda. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Stuckey Brown. All in favor? Or no? Wait. Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Yes. Sorry. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Passes 7-0. Executive session, there is nothing more to discuss. Tommy vehemently shakes his head. And I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Bamanek Brown, all in favor, say aye. Aye. And it passes 7-0.
Yeah.